It's a new year, y'all. And for me, I've never been one to do resolutions. I do solutions. And for the past almost 2 years, I've been drinking AG1 every single day, thanks to my brother, Dr. Andrew Huberman, who turned me on to this incredible product. Every day, every morning, no exceptions. Just one scoop and a glass of water. They also make packs that you can travel with. That's been very, very helpful for me as a active touring person. Having these packets with me all around the world has been really, really helpful. So if you're a musician or somebody that is always on the go, the travel packs are incredible. AG1 delivers my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, and pre and probiotics. It's very powerful, it's very healthy, and it's really simple, man. Healthy aging shouldn't feel complicated. The thought of taking multiple supplements and all these types of vitamins and stuff and powders, it's truly exhausting for me. I've never been one to take a lot of multivitamins anyway throughout my whole life. I always prided myself in just eating vegetables and eating all the stuff I need naturally, not in a pill form. So this is incredible. It covers my nutrient gaps. It supports my mental and physical health. AG1 is hassle-free, 60 seconds every morning. It's the high-quality ingredients of pre and probiotics, adaptogens and antioxidants, and whole food sourced nutrients. I drink it every single day. Every batch of AG1s goes through rigorous testing processes, and their ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrient density. If there's one product I can suggest you guys, is the AG1s, man. This has been a life changer for me. So go to ag1.com/OLLC and you can get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 and K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. With AG1, I know I'm getting essential brain, gut, and immune health support, vitamins, probiotics, and nutrients for the day, and it's helped my mental and physical. So if there's one thing I can recommend to you guys, it's AG1s. It's my nutritional insurance. I pride myself as almost being 54 years old, not going to the doctor all the time. Knock on wood. I've been healthy my whole life and try to strive to be a healthy person, stay young, stay full of energy, and still do the things I love that I did as a kid. That's why I still skateboard, play music, exercise. So start the year off right. AG1, ag1.com/OLLC. Yo, Liquid Death, thank you so much for hydrating all my guests, taking care of me and my family and my friends. Love your water, love your brand, love what you stand for, love what you give back to the community. If you want to learn more about Liquid Death and how it started, listen to episode 115 with the co-founder, owner, and creator of Liquid Death, Mike Cesario. Just a punk rock skateboarding kid from Delaware with a dream. It's an incredible story, incredible journey. So if you go liquiddeath.com/Toby, you get free shipping on any items you order from liquiddeath.com. If you want to just get Liquid Death water, go to amazon.com. But for the merchandise and other cool items, exclusive items, go to liquiddeath.com/Toby and get free shipping. Thank you so much, Liquid Death. Death to plastic, murder your thirst. Stay hydrated. You know H2O saves lives. Welcome to the One Life One Chance podcast. I'm your host, Toby Morse. Today I have two very special guests in my house. You heard me talking on the podcast about getting my tattoos removed. Removery is a big part of my podcast. And so now it's an honor to have Carmen Brodie here. Thank you for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Mike DC McTernan, who, if you listen to this podcast for the past couple hundred episodes, he was episode 60. That was a phone call, but it's nice to have you in person here.
Yeah, that was during COVID.
Yeah, man.
A lot has changed since then.
Yeah. I prefer face-to-face like this. It's nice.
It's a lot more fun.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. I mean, Dustin's here in the house, but he can't talk. He has no microphone. Well, I know your story. You know, I also know that you are the one who connected me with Removery, so thank you for that. So I guess before we get into Carmen's story, like, how did you connect Mike with Removery?
Well, so through Carl.
Okay.
Carl and Jake's Proof, and so.
Oh shit! I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, so Carl had a
Hard
laser.
Carl.
Yeah. Carl had a laser and was working out of the shop, and then he'd also go to conventions and work out of the hotel room.
Nice.
And then he had issues with DC outlawing lasers, so I reached out to him one day, and I was like, "Hey, you want to sell your laser?" And he had already sold it, and then I was talking to Mike Ski from True Hand.
Yes.
So, because Mike was like, "Hey, look into getting a laser, and we can work out of the shop." And since Carl sold his laser, I just reached out to Carmen, and on Facebook, I just sent a message, and she had a company called The Finery.
Yes.
And basically, it was like just out of nowhere, just like, "Hey, I'm love the tattoo industry, love this. I would love to learn about lasering, and she
That's cool.
responded, and she had no business hiring me because I knew nothing about anything, but she took a chance on me. So, Carmen, I'm eternally grateful.
How many years ago was that?
That was 5.5 now.
Okay.
So, and basically, I had I reached out to her on Wednesday, had an interview Thursday, and an interview Friday, and then she was like, "Can you start next week on on the Friday?" I was like, "Well, I just got to give my 2 weeks notice." So, I worked both Saturdays.
Where were you working at the time?
I was working at a company called AC Moore.
Okay.
Just doing customer service, like in their office. And so I worked there during the week. I gave my notice that Friday. Worked during the week. Worked at the finery on the Saturdays. And then once I was done with that, I went out with Dustin and Marco, and we got in the van you had out front, and went to, because we used to work out of about 30 plus tattoo shops in the Northeast.
Okay.
And really no idea what to expect. And so we just roll up to a different shop every day and laser out of the van, or sometimes we'd bring the laser into the shop. And so, yeah, and I just started going with them. And
shops are cool with that? Like, was lasering seen as the enemy when it first came around, or no?
I think the
Carmen?
first show that I did, I was really scared.
Yeah.
Because I felt like, I sort of felt like the enemy. And then by the time the weekend started to roll around, you start to make friends with the artists. And then they realize, oh shit, you can increase my business. This is cool. So it was sort of an awakening. And then, once we started to get to know them, got to be friends, then we started going more tattoo shows.
Yeah.
And it was all the relationship. Like, they had to trust us. They had to know that we were cool. They had to know that we weren't going to make their people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that we did good work.
Yeah.
So, it was a cool transition.
Were you getting tattooed before you started getting involved in the lasering stuff? Did you have tattoos already?
I did. Yeah. I think I was a little bit later bloomer because I'm older. It wasn't as acceptable then, right? So I think I got my first tattoo when I was like 33.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Much more responsible than 15.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're in the same boat, Dustin.
Same.
And that's the thing. You're 15 years old, 16, whatever, and you're like, you do something, man.
I've covered up all those tats from that age.
Yeah.
For sure.
And, now I'm 50, and it's like, that's a long time ago.
What was the first one you got removed?
Well, I had no intention of doing it, but Carl, I went to visit Carl, and he was looking at my arm, and
I can see it right now.
and he was like, "We're taking that off," and I was like, "Okay," but that kind of goes to getting tattooed to begin with. Like, I never had the confidence to tell someone, like, I'm not really into that, or that's not really my style.
True. I've been talking to some too, actually.
Yeah, and because they have a vision, and I just didn't have the confidence to say, hey, well, I see something a little bit different. I'm just I want to please people. And so sometimes I ended up with things that, not bad work, but not necessarily represents me.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
So, and so this is like, okay. And but Carl was just like, we're gonna take that off. And, and it was so awkward because Tony from Jinx Proof did the majority of it.
Oh, wow.
And he walked in while I was doing it because so Carl, Tony, and Dave Waugh, who was working at Jinx Proof then too, like Tony and Dave had done on my arm, and I'm getting it lasered, and they just walk in randomly, and I'm like, this is really awkward. Carl's just having the best time of his life, just laughing. And,
of course.
And it was kind of weird, just being up in a hotel room now, seeing how much more professional everything is, I guess. Going from laying in a hotel room and him just like basically like a sit down, shut up, and
get it off you.
Yeah. And but it was different. But I think it's really it's come a long way.
I was going to say come a long way.
From just Carl just kind of like turning everything up to 11 for anybody who has seen Spinal Tap. So anybody who understands the Spinal Tap reference.
Okay.
But, Carl was just, I am so thankful for where I am. I love this job. I love the people I work with. People love what I do, and I've pretty much Carl and Jinx Proof and like Tad, who's there.
That's
now.
awesome, man. Shout out to Jinx Proof.
Yeah, like I just love those guys, and without Carl, it's I wouldn't be here. So I'm just thankful to Carmen and Carl, and I say it almost all, like text Carmen like probably like a couple times a month, like, hey, just thank you for everything.
That's awesome.
It feels so good.
Amazing. She just took it. Say anything.
Yeah.
You know how like when he's like, how did you get Diane to go out with you? I don't know. I called her up, and that's what I always tell people. Like, how'd you get Carmen to hire you? Well, I sent her a Facebook, slid into her DMs.
So what were you doing before doing the Removery stuff? Like, what was your life kind of like? I know you have kids. I know you have a family.
Yeah. So
leading up to this weird culture of
right. So after college, I was a divorce mediator. Didn't like that so much, splitting people up and dividing assets.
Heavy, yeah.
Like it gets heavy. People aren't having fun at all. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to where life is zen, right? So I was like, I'm going to go and learn lasers and work in spa world where everything's dark and you just sort of, float around behind the curtain and make people feel good. So I did that for a while and then decided that was kind of bullshit because you don't get anywhere unless you have a laser. So then I started playing with lasers, doing a lot of laser hair removal. Okay. And when you do that, you have to cover a tattoo because otherwise you'll blow it up. So I would always cover it. Thus came the conversation. I really don't like this. I want to get rid of it. Mm-hmm. I don't even care if you hit it and explode it. So I was, I was trying to be a good person and just find a reputable place for them to go. And what I found out was there was no place to send them. I was in Boston. That's medical mecca, right?
Yeah.
There was no place to send them. So I was like, I want to do this. I think this would be more fun.
Yeah.
So I took a bold move. I sold my house. I bought a laser.
It's crazy. That just tells you how much lasers actually cost to sell your house and get one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like 2011, you said?
Yeah. Scary as hell. And by that time, I had a good practice built up. But I was like, I'm not loving this. I'm not loving this world. So I'm going to go. I'm going to try. So
just waiting for it.
Yeah. So I moved into the back of the studio, opened the studio. I lived out of the back, operated out of the front.
This is in Boston?
Yeah. The landlord didn't know.
Okay, I was going to say,
no. It was
super DIY.
Yeah. No, I had to go to the gym to shower.
Wow.
I didn't have a shower. I didn't have a kitchen. I had a little bed in the back. I had a bathroom.
Do you have clients from doing the hair removal stuff that started coming to you or no?
Oh, some of them.
Yeah,
some of them for sure. But yeah, that's how I started everything off. So it was very bootstrapped. That's why when these guys joined me, I'm like, well, hell yeah, we're going to sleep in the shop. What do you think?
They're used to that because they're in bands, like sleeping on floors. Yeah.
It's totally the same thing.
Okay.
When I'd go up to New York City, and I would just walk around, go to shops, I would sleep in the office on a air mattress.
Damn.
And go. Her daughter had an apartment probably like half a mile away, maybe. So I'd go over there, take a shower, and then, but you did that for months at a time.
Crazy.
And I did it for like a week, and I was like, okay, my touring days are over. I don't have to do this anymore. But yeah, she'd do it for months at a time. So she's more punk than I am. But
do you remember the first person you lasered?
Yes.
And were you scared to do that?
I was terrified.
Yeah.
I was absolutely terrified because you do the training. I trained on my daughters. They told me
you were just self-taught. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they'll do a little training. Yeah. Safe protocol from the manufacturer. And so, I knew safety. I didn't know efficacy. Okay. So I had to learn that on my own. What really is going to get me results, but not hurt my client. So yeah, I was terrified, absolutely terrified, because I had nobody to look to. I had nobody as sort of a mentor, because again, they're the manufacturer, so they have FDA approval, all that kind of stuff. So they're not going to tell you really what to do. Mm-hmm. So yeah, discovery. Absolute discovery.
Yeah, it's different than tattooing. I think you could tattoo like on pumpkins or like even pigs, all kinds of stuff. But like you really can't laser only on people.
Only on people.
Damn.
Yeah.
So you dating your daughter?
Oh, yeah, both of my daughters.
How'd it come out? Did you do all right?
We did okay, but there I discovered that I needed a Zimmer. When I first started, I didn't have like the cool air that blows.
Oh, that's right. That's helpful.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Something Carl didn't have.
Yeah, yeah. So we did one day of training. They're like, "Ma, I got to tell you, nobody's going to come and do that. There's nobody that's going to do that." I was like, "Okay." I bought a used Zimmer. I'm like, "Okay, you guys more comfortable now? Can we do this?"
Were you numbing too back then?
No,
Wow.
no.
It's a game changer too.
Yeah,
The ice packs and all that stuff.
yeah,
It
yeah.
makes
We had
such
no
a
idea about
difference.
ice. Yeah.
I feel like people have such like not PTSD from, but people that I know that got lasered way back in the day that have scarring and stuff. Like they're so scared to move forward even now to try to do it again. But there's pico lasers, is all different. Everything's changed dramatically, right?
It's a whole,
From back then.
Yeah, it's a whole different animal. When I first started in 2011, Pico hadn't even been introduced yet. So I started with Nano. But
And what's the difference between those?
just pulse duration, the amount of time that the pulse is within the skin. So
Okay.
if you have more duration of the pulse within the skin, there's more heat, right?
Okay.
So it's a longer, lazier pulse. Hair removal, even longer, lazier pulse, but you need that.
Okay.
So if we create a shorter pulse, then it goes in, it shatters the ink, but then dissipates. Your thermal relaxation time is much shorter.
Okay.
So more comfortable for the client, less adverse effects, less blistering. You know, you're not going to create the scarring. I would have to really be egregiously terrible with a treatment to scar somebody.
Yeah.
Most of the time when you find scarring, it's left from the tattoo application, right?
Yeah. And so what happens is when it breaks down, it goes like through your bloodstream, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
for sure.
it could take months for you to actually see like some sort of lightening.
Yes.
Like I noticed that I haven't been there like almost 9 months on the ones I'm getting done, and they're so light right now because I haven't been there in a long time. You know,
Oh, patience.
the process.
Yeah, patience is the key.
And
Really.
it's hard for people to have patience because they want something off like right now.
Yeah, and that's the hardest thing because they're like, well, it only took an hour to put on. You know, why isn't it coming off
I was
right
going to
away?
take like 12 times. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, so it's easy to understand and relate to someone who wants something done right away, but it's like with anything, like, okay, you know, this is, if you want this to be gone for the rest of your life, you know, just bear with us for like a year or, you know, like once you get started in about a year, you know, give or take, it's going to be gone. And then you're going to have the rest of your life not have it or give, you know, once or twice, and then you can get a nice cover up.
It's a journey. It's a commitment.
Yeah, and I think it's like with anything, like, okay, the payoff is worth it.
For sure.
And so, and that's something I know personally, you know, just like, well, God, I don't want to wait. Why wait? I'll just get this covered up. But then, like, wow, that's really ugly. I should have just been, I'm very impulsive and
Same.
So I think, yeah, patience is your best friend when it comes to lasering, and that's something I really try to pass along to people if they're unfamiliar with it. Just like it does take a while, and you're going to be looking at it every day, like shit's not moving. But
yeah, and also it's hard to explain to people like that. Does it hurt? Like, well, some tattoos I've gotten didn't hurt. Some of them did. So it depends on the person, I think. For me, like I said a bunch of times, it feels like a bunch of rubber bands, but it's so fast.
It's so fast. Yeah. And in different locations of your body, you know, the palms of your hands where it really hurts going on, that's going to really hurt coming off. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, or your head.
Kat has gotten her palm lasered twice, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, she has.
One of the clinical trainers, or I don't know what her position is, but Kat, amazing. But I think she's got her palm lasered twice, and I'm like, oh,
it's brutal.
The palm was by far the worst thing I've ever done.
Me too. For pain wise, yeah, yeah.
God.
It's the worst. In my armpit and like, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But we talked before the podcast about eyelid tattoos. Those are really hard to get off, or
no. They're not.
But out of all the
hard.
tattoos, it's just kind of dangerous because of the eyes, or no?
It's dangerous because of the eyes. You have, if you think about it, your head has a lot of circulation, so that's going to remove really quickly. Problem is that we have to have you go to a doctor to put the ocular shields, so they have to insert them into your eye, which, you know, just a regular technician, we're not certified to do that. So once you get going, once you get in there, yeah, you can get rid of eyelid tattoos.
How long did it take you to get certified as a laser specialist? And when you started doing like in sleeping and where you were sleeping and doing out the back of the place, like how long did it take you to become official and start your own?
I had a weekend training, dude.
Crazy, man.
Yeah, right? Which makes you scared just to randomly roll up somewhere and have somebody laser you. Now, some states...
Was there a lot of pushback too?
No.
Okay.
No.
From tattoo shops and stuff, I don't know.
No, I mean, they had to get used to us, right? We had to gain their trust first in the person that we were. You know, they're interested. Are you a good person? Can I trust you? Can I trust you? Usually we laser their assistant first, right? Their apprentice. And if you do okay there, then sometimes you can laser them. Yeah. And then you can laser their clients. But they don't just send you a client without trying you out first.
Yeah. And it's also like you're helping them because you're erasing something that they might be able to tattoo over later. It's just like kind of a team kind of, right?
Absolutely. And I think once that started to catch on, they were like, oh yeah. And that's where we got invited. Hey, can you come laser in the studio? The first one that I did was because I met some guy at a tattoo show. He's like, hey, I'm in Buffalo. And so my son, Phil, and I loaded up the laser in the back of his pickup truck, drove from Philly to Buffalo, carried the fucker up the stairs.
Wow.
And lasered, and then, drove home to Boston. But that's how it all got started. And so then, he tells another guy, and we ended up with, I think at the end we had like 37 shops.
Wow. Mostly East Coast?
Yes.
Yeah.
Within 5 states.
New York, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania.
Damn.
Rhode Island.
What was a crazy spot you tattooed? Remember, removed before, like some crazy spots.
Yeah.
Like everywhere, right?
Everywhere.
And what other places you will not do it?
We've decided as Removery that we don't do genitalia. Okay. Just because more so.
Or butthole either.
Or yeah.
Sanitary reasons.
Reasons, and just if I'm a guy in the room lasering, I'm going to have another person in there, or even women. So it was just a logistical nightmare. But before we were Removery and we were big, we would laser everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah.
There are penises that have happened.
Yeah, I'm sure. Is there a lot?
Quite a few, yeah.
Is the most common like a wife or a husband's name or girlfriend, boyfriend's name? Is it names or?
What do
you see the most of?
I had one guy who had his wife's name. He covered it up with a sailboat for the girlfriend. Jeez. He then had another girlfriend that didn't want, the two. Mm-hmm. Every time she was hanging out there.
Oh, down there.
Yeah.
Oh,
dude,
shoot.
Yeah,
okay, damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Special Valentine's Day edition.
Yes, that's what this is. Yeah.
Yep. And so, yeah.
I can't imagine that pain down there taking something off.
Yeah, a lot of circulation.
What about women? Do women have stuff tattooed down there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Lots of times butterflies, weirdly enough.
It's a common theme. Wow. What was the first one you got lasered? Did you just practice on yourself too? Did you get a tattoo and lasered off or something?
Yeah. We all, again, this has always been a lifestyle, working for, all my kids work for me.
Yeah,
and
then awesome.
We started to expand the family once I ran out of kids. And, it was always, you had to live the lifestyle. And you didn't have to, like, it was just something we wanted to do. It was a culture. So we all got the name of the company tattooed on us so that we could all remove it, because I wanted to see. I'm older, so does mine remove much more quickly than my kids? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm more healthy. I work out all the time. Did that play a big role? So numbing cream, all of those things we were able to test on ourselves. And that's really where we learned really quickly.
So does it matter? Age, is it different? Mm-hmm. The healing process, and if you're healthy?
Well, it's more so circulation absorption of the broken particles, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it does. I'm going to remove more slowly than all of you guys.
Wow. Even if we're super healthy, it doesn't matter because we're older.
Because we're older.
What about you, Mike? So do you have to? So you do. You're behind the scenes. You're not lasering. You're just behind the scenes.
Yeah, I don't have the clinical knowledge or the desire. Originally, I just, Well, when I first got started, it was more just like, oh, I want to help, do this. It'll be cool. But now with the clinical, they have doctors, and there's much. There is so much behind it that I couldn't even pretend to know half of it. And and it's just interesting how just having a full team instead of, Carmen and Chelsea just doing research and us testing on ourselves. They have doctors, and and protocols are always changing because we're always learning. And so it's really interesting. We were kind of talking about it on the way over here. Like, okay, the amount of times that time in between treatments has changed because we're learning so much more. And that's, but yeah, I like doing behind the scenes now. I just kind of do my thing in the background, try to stay below under the radar. But
you've always been low key.
Yeah. I'm like, and everyone's like, well, how do you sing for a band and hate attention? And I'm just like, I have Ken to kind of get all the attention for me. And, and here just, I just stay behind the scenes. And
it's interesting with a lot of singers like that too. Like you're super, quiet and shy, or like don't really go out of the house and just live your life. You know what I mean? And then you go on stage and just I don't know, just spirit inside you, and it's different. I don't know. It's very therapeutic. It's
because
because you're such a different person than you are like sitting here than you are on stage.
Oh yeah, well, because that's there's so much more emotion.
Totally,
and things that I wouldn't say to people, in just everyday conversations.
You say in your songs,
yeah, and so I get it out there, and and then I feel relieved and much better. But just right now, but I do feel like in my current position, like I do a lot of coaching and I work with people daily on showing them how to work our software. And so I'm able to be kind of like a teacher.
You're like smart.
No.
He does voodoo magic. He's being so coy right now.
Not at
he
all,
does.
no.
You do all the computer behind the scenes, all
magic.
Those crazy.
Well, no, but I do like real simple stuff, but
to you.
But I work with really intelligent people, and like that's one of the things that this we were talking about Becca on the way over here. She's taught me, over the past year, because I got promoted. The day my new title started was the day after my mom passed.
Oh wow!
So 5 hours after I waved goodbye to my mom, I started I didn't know what else to do. I just went to work, and everyone's like, just take the day off, and I was like, I can't. Like I just sit, because I find so much. I'm so passionate about what I do. And I could have, a million people could do what I do, but I was just like, I want to work. Like I want to, and so I started the new position. And what was great is I got promoted like, about 2 weeks before she passed, and I got to tell her 3 or 4 times because she just would forget.
Yeah.
I'd come up, Mom, I got that job I've been waiting like a year for. And she's like, oh yeah, anyway. But yeah, I just, but I'm still part of something. It's like being part of something, you're making a difference. You don't have to be the spokesperson. You don't have to be the one out front, but
you're doing your part.
Yeah. Like I believe I'm part of a small part of like a car, or whatever, that we're really helping people become their best selves. Like there's no tattoos that I'm like really ashamed of, but again, we have stuff we've been getting tattooed, for forever, stuff that now as adults we probably think differently of, and work is so much better. And
it is,
instead of just like hanging around a shop and you get something because you're bored, you're like, oh wow, I really love that art, I want that on me. Now we're able to do that, but
get real estate again.
And so we're able to like give like help people be their best selves, and whether they don't want a tattoo anymore or whether they just want something that better represents them where they are in their lives. So I'm like behind the scenes kind of, and that's what I like, I never liked being a front person. Like I did it by default, and I'm not good at saying no. But I realize like no matter how small the role I'm playing, I am part of making a difference. And
100%.
And I remember when I Carmen showed up one day in Philly, and I wasn't expecting to see her, and she was like, "So just so you know, there's going to be some changes, and we're merging with other companies. I don't exactly know what happened." She's like, "We're going to be able to do more than I could do for you alone," and it was almost, and I looked at it, almost like a band putting out their own records to be on a label.
Yeah.
Know? So we were able to grow, and we got health insurance now.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And she put it perfectly. Like, there's going to be opportunities now that I would not be able to give you on my own. Mm-hmm. But I tell you this all the time. Like, I was like, I'll follow you anywhere. I believe, about having devotion and faith and
loyalty,
someone,
everything. Yeah.
Loyalty,
yeah,
like,
man.
that's what I have to Carmen. That's what
awesome.
I have to Dustin and the company now. And like, I'm so passionate about what we do. And this is my way of staying involved in the tattoo community.
Yeah.
Like, I can barely write my name, so I can never tattoo someone, but I believe so much in what we're doing, and then I can stay involved in this community,
Yeah.
Like, shit. I mean, yeah, that's like one of the few things, like straight edge, tattoos, music, like those are like the key things of my life. And,
yeah. Same.
And now I can be involved in it in this way. And look, like, you're involved in it through podcasts. And
cool, man. Yeah.
It's amazing.
No, it's awesome. It's a great community.
Oh my
God,
it's
been our lives for such a long time.
Yeah. And, and think about how many people, how lucky are we to be part of something? And this is something Carmen couldn't always understand, but I think one of the reasons Dustin and I, because Dustin's over there being quiet, but he comes from the punk community and he understands the DIY ethic.
Yeah.
Carmen lived that without knowing our
exactly.
end of it,
exactly.
like living in the studio and showering at the gym.
Just making it happen.
Yeah. And putting 100% of everything she had into it.
And on the line too.
Yeah. And so it's like very similar to being in a van. Like, how many times were you in a van?
Sacrificing.
Broken down on the side of the road, or sleeping on a stage. Like, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
But you're like, do it
because you love it.
Yeah.
It's passion. Yeah.
And how many times you're like, oh my God, is this really worth it? And then you're like, you know what, it is. It's really worth it. And so yeah, I'm really thankful for what we get to do.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, and you get me involved in Removery too. You talk about changing people's lives too. Also, like, I'm sure you've gotten rid of like hateful tattoos and stuff, like gang tattoos and stuff like that. Is that a lot of stuff you deal with too?
We do. Yeah. I think that
crazy, like hateful symbols and all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah. And people change and they grow and they realize that's really not what I want to do anymore. I think that once I felt like I could give back, like I was making a little bit of money, we were doing a little better. I don't think I was living in an apartment yet. I think I was still living in the studio, but wow. I was like, okay, so how can I give back? How can I make this applicable to everybody? And because of my college years, I would work in prisons, and I would help the public defenders get all the details that they then went into court with. But weirdly enough, I became very comfortable in that environment. I wasn't scared of it anymore. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, how could I give back? I could give back by going and removing the tattoos on people who they try to reemerge into society, and society just, they weren't ready for it yet. Mm-hmm. And so if I can give them the confidence to go back, come out of jail, get a job, do all that. So that was the initiative.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you started doing that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where, on the East Coast?
Yes. Boston first. And then also sex workers or people who had been human trafficked.
Really?
Women. Those
because they get tattooed, right? People get put tattoos on
them? A lot of times they,
it's heavy.
Their person, I don't even know what they call them, to be honest. But they'll put their names all over their body, and it's a way to mark them that they're their property. And so that other people knew that they were theirs and whatnot. So in New York, we hooked up with a lot of those organizations that would send those women in.
That's intense.
Yeah. So when I started the business, I thought, oh, I'm just going to go and make money. And then it was like all of a sudden I was hooked, because all of a sudden I'm changing lives. I'm watching people grow. I'm watching them emerge. And I'm like, oh man, I'm hooked. I can never leave this, because how could I ever have this same rush?
It's literally deeper than a tattoo.
Way.
There's so many stories and there's like traumas, all kinds of things attached to tattoos. You know, it's like people don't think that.
Yeah, no. I mean, you hear so many stories in that treatment room, and just like Mike was talking about, you know, you have to be patient, right? Yeah. But at the same time, a lot of times that change happens right away. Just the fact that they're doing something about it,
first step,
they'll come back that second treatment, they'll be like, I feel lighter. I feel like I'm making a difference. I'm making efforts towards it. And I know it'll be a long time, but at least I've started to make that effort.
Yeah, it's rather like stick it out for that than have the rest of your life. You know,
right.
Your life's longer.
Yeah, and like weren't you, before COVID, we were working on going into the prisons, right?
Yes.
So before COVID, because I remember you were talking about that, but
going into them and lasering them there, yeah.
And lasering them there. It didn't happen. We were trying to do that with the state of Massachusetts.
That must be super hard, right? Just get in there to bring the machines and do a lot of stuff there?
You just bring it right in. We were going to take the van, and then because of it's a prison, I would have to operate in a room. But I went and talked to all the prisoners and told them about it. Yeah. And, you know, they were all like hyped about it. So I was sad it didn't work out. But you know how states are.
Yeah, that's crazy. It must be a lot of like red tape and stuff to go through to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really love being able to give people a second chance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because everyone makes mistakes, no matter
100%.
How wonderful you think you are, and how many, you know. So it's like giving people an opportunity to start over.
Yeah.
And that's why, especially when we started doing the hate tattoos, we know. From the scene
we're in, yes.
You know, that was something big. And very impressionable young kids made big mistakes.
Absolutely.
Doesn't mean they're, you know, should they be paying for it for the rest of their lives if they want to change? Like, I don't believe that. I don't believe it either. Giving them an opportunity to better their lives and turn it around. And that's why I like, you know, when I found out the program, I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, giving people second chance, and it's just, it really is seeing some of I don't work in the studios anymore, but seeing people when they first came in, just like terrified and of being judged of, well, you know, I got this in prison, and just kind of waiting for you to be like, okay, get out, you know. You know, but instead of, you know, welcoming them and kind of helping them on that journey to restarting their lives.
It's beautiful.
And yeah, it is a really wonderful thing.
Yeah, I feel like tattoos now, I feel like they're more acceptable though. Do you guys agree with that because of like the TV shows and all that stuff?
Oh yeah.
It's changed a lot as far as like,
I mean, do you get
being judged? Not really. No, but I can't imagine being somebody coming out of prison being looked at. We got looked at. We weren't even in prison. You know what I'm saying? Like back then, how we grew up, it's just different. Like people judge you by that. But now I see people like at Trader Joe's with face tats, and my UPS guys a neck tat. It's like, it's really crazy, man.
Yeah.
How things evolved with that.
It's changed. But then, you know, and you see people, and you know they're not. You're not getting judged necessarily, because especially if someone's covered, you know, they're not going to see that one.
Mm-hmm.
But in your head, you're like, everyone's focused on this, like, and that could change how you dress, like, you know, how you interact with people, and you know, you're always trying to hide something, and it just changes the mentality of you living your everyday life, and that's what I really love is we are giving people their confidence back, because we're taking away that thing that they think everyone's pinpoint focused on, even if no one would ever notice it before. Like, we're giving them their confidence back, and that's something that was really important to me, because I've spent my life without confidence. And so I'm really helping people gain it back. And I'm just like, okay, maybe one day I'll get my confidence, but you know, I'm going to help everyone else. If I don't join the journey, I'm going to kind of push them on their way.
Yeah. What do you think is a big misconception about tattoo laser removal? Because I feel like people were like kind of hesitant. Even people that know I can get them to remove and get something done, they're still like so unsure about it still. Maybe the process, maybe, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think that historically, like I was talking about with the hair removal, that's kind of where it started.
Totally.
So, people are left with those literal scars a lot of times.
Yeah.
And so that, that took on its own life. And so to retrain people that we're not going to scar you. Pain also. Everybody's so afraid of the pain.
Yeah.
Until they experience it, and then they're like, I can do that.
It's so fast.
Yeah, it's so fast.
Yeah.
That, their first treatment, they're always sweating, so nervous. And then second treatment, they walk in like, I got this.
Yeah.
It's cool.
They have like a swagger coming in.
Yeah.
Like, look at me.
Or the people that got burned by other companies who were like making people pay for these packets, like in advance, paying for like 14 sessions.
That's awful.
You know what I mean? Like, and then that really, or like people think that you have to go back that many times because they're not turning up the laser strong enough and they're going to keep getting your money, which is not true. Because it's a process of how powerful the laser is going to be on you when you first start, right? As it goes along, correct?
Right. You generally have to increase power.
Yeah.
You have to get more energy in. And you're always, you're reading your endpoint, and I'm always pushing it just as far as I can without hurting somebody, because I want them to have removal just as fast as they can, as long as it's safe. But it doesn't hurt anymore as you go because you have less particles to interact, right? So less to heat up means I can have more energy.
Yeah.
And it won't hurt anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I think people are just kind of like the process of it, how long and the sessions and like color. Isn't color harder than black and gray? Like reds and stuff like that? Is it harder?
Reds are actually fairly easy. They're a little dangerous. So that is, it's a 532 wavelength. It works at the surface of your skin, right? So you can blister really easily. So we have to tread very carefully with that laser or that wavelength, but it's not more difficult. Actually, red lifts pretty easily. Black and gray, it's a 1064 laser. It works on all skin types. So that's your standard. That's what's in your tool belt that will work with everything. A lot of times blues, greens can be difficult.
Okay.
With this laser that we have now, we can address the blues and the greens. We can remove them. But yes, that's always a little bit tricky depending on what brand it is, how it was mixed, all of that stuff. So that's where that gets that bad rap of it's more difficult. Some of them are, some of them aren't. I think it's more so you don't know.
Yeah. What's the perfect skin you think? Like, I'm gonna say his name on here. I feel like Rappaport has the perfect skin because he's just like white as a ghost, and his tattoos came off so fast.
Yeah.
Like he's so excited about it. Like, and just some of my other friends, I won't say their names, they're getting it. They're like super like pale. That's like the best, right?
Super pale.
Yeah.
I can blast the shit
but
out of myself.
There's different pigments of skin that are harder and different stuff like that. Like everybody can get lasered.
More dangerous, right? So as the pigment gets darker, I've got to be more careful because I have more competing chromophore. I have melanocytes in there, and so I've got to be careful that I'm hitting ink and not disturbing those melanocytes. So is it more difficult? No, generally, once you get it to a certain level with darker skin, you really can't notice the ink.
Okay.
So on me, you're going to notice forever because I'm translucent.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So more difficult to do a good job with and not hurt somebody.
Okay.
But not more difficult to do overall.
And then how long are you supposed to wait in between? Because you said that kind of changed, Mike, too, right? What's the time frame in between like sessions?
It's 6 to 12 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 6 to 12 weeks. We usually start you off a little faster. You can come in, time between treatment, a little bit more close. We're doing a study on it now to prove our theory.
Okay.
But generally 6 weeks, then you'll move to 8, then you'll move to 10. Then once you're almost ready to graduate, you're at 12 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's, one of the things that I would always tell people is just when you first get started, it's, you're not going to notice the difference that much.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, you got as soon as the laser lifts off your skin, the laser's job is done. The rest is up to you.
Yeah.
And, and that's something they really encourage. But, and when you were talking about misconceptions about, everyone, it impacts people everyone differently.
Yeah.
You know, because it a lot can do with the application of the tattoo, how much ink is in their skin type. You know, there's so many different aspects to it, and that's where, you know, being patient, and, you know, if someone comes in and they just at one time they're like, well, it didn't go anywhere. It's like, okay, be patient. You know, not everyone had hard Carl working on them where it was magic the first time.
Drilling you, yeah.
You know,
Love you, Carl.
Yes, but you know, and that's, you know, and so when I was more doing the client-facing stuff, and I would talk to people who were not very happy with the results, you know, well, you know, you told us this, and I'm like, well, the verbiage that we tend to use is more generalized, I would say, in terms of, because we want to give you realistic expectations from the very beginning, and so I don't want to tell you, hey, it's going to be guarantee this, but like, this is what our hope is.
Yeah.
You know, but there's also things that will kind of determine that, and, you know, just be patient, and we're going to, you know, we really, that's what we do is remove tattoos, and you know, like I was saying before, like now we have doctors and, you know, clinical people and making all these decisions, and we're learning so much instead of just firing it up, and, you know, Carmen's mentioning all these numbers, and I'm like, I can't even count that high, and you know, that's why I just sit in the background and do my thing. But you know, but I think the biggest misconception is every single person is, and every single treatment is going to be the same, and where it really has to do with patience. You know, it's like, okay, cool, I got started on this journey, and, you know, let me just see where it goes.
Yeah, it's also like the whole experience, like going to Removery for the first time and having Alex sit down in the room with me, shout out to Alex, and tell me what's going to happen, what the process is going to be, what's about to happen to me with the ice, just everything, walking me through it, like feeling like comfortable there, and not like just like another person coming in and out. Like my first experience with Rappaport was going to the spot in Beverly Hills where it was really cold. It was in and out. They took my credit card. Nobody talked to us. We got into the room. He started asking how many times he has to come, and he freaked out. We had to walk out of there. It was so embarrassing. But I went back and apologized for him because he's like, I want this shit off right now. It's like, that's not the process. But nobody was telling us anything. So he just started asking questions because nobody was saying anything. Yeah. And we both walked out, and I went back and I got one because it was highly recommended from a friend of mine. I'm not going to say the person's name. So that's why I felt obligated to go back. But that experience alone was just, it wasn't warm. It wasn't welcoming. It wasn't like, I don't know. I didn't want to be involved in that. I was like, I ain't doing this shit. I was going to tattoo over it. But then going to Remove and being sit down in the office like it's like being like a real doctor's office, and they're telling you what's going to happen, and are you okay? And there's the ice, and like, that's what people need because they are scared. I was scared. You know what I mean? Your nerves, everything's, adrenaline's going into what happens, and then it's like, oh, that was it. That was that quick. I love the ice part the best because it's like the coldest I've ever felt. Well, colder than my cold plunge. You know what I mean? Like the experience.
And you have a bunch of people who are familiar with it.
Yeah.
Instead of, because I mean, as we learned earlier, like it doesn't take much to operate the laser.
Yeah.
And there's not much protocol for most places to operate it. So when you have people who really know what they're doing, it's a game changer. And one of the things I really love about our company, and because I interact with studios, you know, throughout, we have 150 now or something.
Wow.
And I interact with them on multiple, and I see people who are more heavily tattooed than I am, and I was like, this is awesome because I'm among my people. And then we have Carmen, you know, who I'm among my people with her just because of the devotion. Like she didn't grow up in the punk scene.
Yeah.
Like I'm used to, in terms of people who are just so driven to and passionate about what they do. You don't see that very often with regular 9-to-5 jobs.
No.
But, you know, I remember when I first started working, you know, emails would come in at midnight and they needed to be answered. And, you know, and when you said when you ran out of kids, you started extending your family. Like, we became a family. And Carmen would get mad at us all the time. That didn't matter because she was mad all the time. But if you disappointed her, that was the worst, you know, because
you let your mom down.
Yeah. You know, so she was just so driven. It was just like, okay, I need this done, and this done. And we're like, you know, can we sleep at some point? Like, no, you know, like
she wasn't. Yeah.
She, I mean, but that was like, okay, that was like being on tour. Okay, well, you know what? We played tonight. We have a 12-hour drive. We got to get there.
Who's sitting shotgun?
You know, yeah. And that's the way it was. Like, okay, well, you know what? There's 4 of us doing this, and she's doing just as much as we are. Like, this has to get done by this time. Like, so it was really the same vibe of, okay, we're all going to use our own talents, and we each have a piece to play. And, you know, but yeah, like making Carmen mad, you know, everyday thing, but disappointing Carmen, ooh, no.
It's like this point, yeah.
Oh, no.
Are your kids tattooed and lasered?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Are they still getting lasered or tattooed right now? Or?
Yes, I believe everybody is. Yes, for sure. And then my daughter's married to a tattoo artist also. So she met him at a show. Maya. She was at work. Maya. Hey. Yeah. Mark Wade she's awesome. Married to Mark. But yeah, this has been really a growing adventure for me too, because
over 20 years in the game, right?
Yeah. And quite honestly, I grew up in South Dakota. I didn't have any sort of, you know, access to any of this. And so for these guys to open this door to see, oh my God, there's this whole world, and to be part of this has been such a growing experience for me too. And I'm just so appreciative.
She got to meet Vinny.
Yeah.
I know, Vinny Stigma. That's a legend. We were talking about that earlier. You know, living legend.
There's a picture with Carmen and Vinny. That's not something I ever thought. You know, if you talked about 2 people you never see in a picture.
I know. I saw the photo. It's cool. He's incredible. Shout out to Vinny Stigma, man. Living legend, man.
Yes.
Incredible. And you got to work with Roger, which is amazing too. Roger Murray.
Amazing. Dude, such a sweet. Both of them so sweet.
So you were growing. What were you into growing up in South Dakota? Like, were you into like?
Oh Jesus!
What kind of music?
We had one radio channel that would come in. One that was country.
Okay.
And
makes sense.
Yeah, so that's all I had. And, you know, I graduated in 81. So the whole punk rock era was going on in New York. But New York was like a world away. Of
course.
Right? So, I just didn't have access. Yeah. And I didn't have access to tattoos. I don't think you have our whole town, 1,500 people.
Wow.
All Dutch German. Right?
Wow.
Very, very, work is everything. Go to church on Sunday.
Yeah.
I don't know of anybody other than my Uncle Frank who was tattooed. And he was tattooed because he came back from Vietnam. And, you know, he had the panther tattoo. Yeah. And I thought he was the coolest dude in the whole wide world. And I think I always had this, you know, I was always mesmerized by tattoos. I always thought that they were so cool. But again, you know, only cool Uncle Frank had to go to Vietnam and get one.
Yeah. Your parents pretty strict?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I was bad.
You rebellious kid?
Yeah. I'm curious. I'm a curious person. And so, you know, I was always trying something. If there was something to be tried, they were like, yeah, send Carm, she'll do it. I was like, yeah, hell yeah, I'll do it. Let me try.
Were you a good kid in school and stuff like that?
I got decent grades. I had to work hard in school, and it was important to me. So yes, I did. I did study, but I was out. I was racing. We didn't have a school bus, so we started to drive at 14. We drove to school. And then we'd put on these band hats and we'd play Dukes of Hazzard at lunchtime and race cars. Yeah.
It's old school for the listeners. I know Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
Wow. Who was Daisy Dukes?
Well, we would always switch. Whoever was driving got to wear the band hat.
That's crazy.
And all the girls would pile in one car, all the guys would pile in.
That's like a movie.
Yeah. It was just a whole different world.
And what did you want to do when you graduated back then? What was your goals?
I was going to be an attorney.
Okay.
Because I wanted to make a lot of money, not because I wanted to, you know, enforce the law or do anything like that. I was like, I am getting the hell out of here. And whatever I need to do to get me out of here, I'm going to do it.
And that got you from there to Boston?
And that got me, every summer I would go somewhere different and work. And I worked on Block Island, as you know, right off the coast of Rhode Island, and ended up staying there and finishing my college. But yeah, I sort of traveled various resort places and worked, waitressed, bartended.
Hustled, man.
I hustled.
But not getting tattooed to your 30s is kind of cool too.
Yeah.
Why'd you wait so long, you think? Because it was like you love tattoos.
I love them. I think I had kids starting at 24 until I was 30. So just busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being a mom.
Yeah. And my husband was not into it at all. I went way back then and got my belly button pierced, and he punched the wall. Like, he was so pissed off at me. Yeah. So until I divorced him, I couldn't get a tattoo. So once I divorced him, then I was like, fuck you. I'm going to do what I want. And went and...
It's crazy. Belly button tattoos piercings were back then was shocking.
Yeah. I know.
So a belly button piercing, man.
Well, to further the story, he was also a big lover of going to strip joints. And so all of the strippers had belly button piercing.
But you couldn't have one.
But I couldn't have one. But I didn't know that until later on. Yeah.
And they probably had tattoos as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Secret life. So Removeries have how many locations in America? In Canada too, though, now.
Yeah, Canada, Australia.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to say there's like 135 in the U.S., something along those lines.
Yep.
Like,
it's right about there.
I wonder what the percentages of people who are getting removed versus people who are getting tattooed.
Ooh.
Statistics like that. Be interesting.
That would be very interesting. Right? I wish I had that number, and I don't. I don't.
I mean, well, just, since I started, 5.5 years ago, it's definitely become more normalized.
Yeah, for sure.
As people see, like, wow, this really does work. And, again, if it wasn't for Carl just being like, sit down and shut up,
yeah,
I'd be like, what's this, like, voodoo magic, because to me, the science behind it doesn't really make sense.
It's crazy, man.
Just because I don't understand that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it would take actually seeing it work and oh wow, that does work, and then so but now that it's become normalized and people see that it really is effective, and that's one of the things I love, that we give back to the tattoo community, because we treat artists for free.
Yeah.
And so they're like, they can see, oh wow, like, I've been in like 3 or 4 times and I see a noticeable difference.
Yep.
So instead of when they get a client who comes in and wants a cover up and they're like, well, I'm really limited in what I can do, or I'm going to have to do it twice as big and twice as dark. Like, I can't do my best work. They're saying, hey, just go in, hit it a couple times, and then I can do something really good. If you want me to do something on you specifically, you got to help me out and give me a better canvas to work on. And so I love that we work with artists and we really help them do their best work, and then we kind of give back to them by treating them for free. And so it's cool. Like, and that's my way of staying involved in the tattoo community too. Like, just building on the relationships I've had for years, working in shops and just meeting artists, and then meeting new ones who, it's just like, it's almost like being in a band.
Yeah.
You go and you're like, you meet you play with a band that you've never seen before. You may have seen before multiple times, but you just never connected. And so if I go to like a convention or something, I meet a new artist that have been at 100 ones that I've been to before. And I'm like, wow, we've never sat down and had a conversation. And it's just like really refreshing.
Yeah.
So, you just never know what's going to happen, but it's a really neat thing.
I feel like this generation, like my son's age, a lot of kids are doing hand poke tattoos in school. When he was in high school, like in the back of the room, and a lot of kids are starting with their face and their necks and their hands now. So I feel like I don't know if they're doing it knowing that it's not permanent no more, because we used to get tattooed like, this is forever for us. This is never coming off. But now it's a different mindset of when you're getting tattooed, because there is this option of getting it taken off. You know what I mean? So it's not really forever.
Right.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of kids in the next couple of years getting their faces tattooed removed. There's so many of them.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So and even though it's becoming more acceptable, the work they are getting done, because I know a lot of artists will not work on someone like, hey, this is his first tattoo, I'm going to do a facial tattoo. Like, most reputable artists will just be like, no, come back in 10 years.
100%.
And you have the rest of your body.
Yeah.
So they're going to the only person who will do it.
Yes.
And it's like someone who's sitting at a kitchen table like we are.
Yeah.
I mean, my first one, I was 15. I had my foot up on the dining room table, and he's doing it, you know, and his dad is sitting there watching Jeopardy, and his dad offers me a beer, and I'm like, I'm getting a straight edge tattoo at 15. I'm like, no, thanks, man. I don't drink. I'm straight edge, you know, like, you know, but it's, so they're going to places like that.
Yeah.
And so not only is it bad choice, like of getting it on the face or hands, but not well done.
Yeah.
And so, you know, but that's really why I see, you know, the future for us is going to be really good, you know, but it also, it's people like you and I who were just kind of hanging out at shops and are older, still passionate about tattoos, but would like nicer work. And, you know, how many artists do you know who are like fucking amazing, but are covered in just trash? Most of them don't care, you know, but for me, I'm like, wow, you know, I'd really love to have, you know, whoever work on me because they're so talented, and I want something really beautiful that kind of represents more who I am now. Yeah.
And having room too at my age at 54 is like trying to find a spot, you know what I mean? Squeezing stuff on my body that I wish I had room for. So like, even for the listeners, like to take your time when you get tattooed, it's a journey. It's part of your life. It's experiences and stuff, you know? Kids are just getting full sleeves in one shot or just fully tatted up with like, really no meaning, just it's almost like an image that's almost like I don't know, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's a different thought process now, and I think it is because, but I mean, when I was young, how old were you when you got your first one?
18.
Oh, okay. Dustin, how old?
At a shop professionally.
Oh.
But then I covered it up though. You know, it's like
I just, you know, I wasn't thinking of, okay, what does my future look like?
Me either.
Past, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that is the thought process when you're young. You don't really think about it. But
I also was like, I'm never going to work for somebody. I'm going to be my own boss. I'm punk rock forever. Fuck the world. Fuck this. I'm not going to fit into society. You know, I'm going to be fully tatted. You know, what's it called? I can't get a job. Whatever, you know what I mean? Like
job
stoppers and shit. But now it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Now there's people, like I said, they're fully it doesn't matter anymore. And it's like, damn, I did all that shit to myself, and now I can just go. Because I did a couple years ago, way before the podcast, when the band was on hiatus, I applied for a UPS job out here, and I got the job during Christmas break, and I was like, holy shit, I got a real freaking job. I never had it my whole life. And then we ended up getting a tour like at the same time, and I just never did it. But I got hired there with fully tatted and shit. I was like, wow, this is crazy, man. It's a new world. It's like a real job. It's like,
and now it's definitely more acceptable, and they're not judging you as harshly. Like, I remember I was working at Starbucks when they first allowed visible tattoos.
Wow.
Like, I used to have to wear wristbands, like those sweatbands, because and long sleeves, and the sweatbands because, you know, my shirt sleeves would come up a little bit, so I had to wear, and it's just like, now they're more heavily tattooed than I am. Like, you walk in and they're like facial tattoo, like, wow, you know, hey, good for them.
I worked at Subway in the 80s, and I had my only tattoo is my Gorilla Biscuits tattoo. It says "Meat is Murder," and they made me get a long sleeve shirt because they didn't want me to promote that kind of lifestyle at Subway.
Wow.
Crazy.
I was only going with a long sleeve shirt there.
That's crazy.
I mean, that stuff really doesn't matter anymore. I mean, I don't know. It's just like, but my point is that tattoos aren't permanent no more.
No, you know,
we have options, and you guys are the option. It's just like, for the listeners too, it's like, this is like, I was scared doing it. I always talk about it, but people always ask me questions if I post about it, or what's the process like? What am I getting removed? Basically, I have 4 tattoos on top of each other. I kept covering them throughout my life because I was getting bored. I wanted space. I wanted to write something there or do something there. So they got really thick on my arms. So that's why I've been getting laser. People think I'm getting all my tattoos taken out, but I'm not. And now I'm going to have room on my arm because now I haven't gone like in almost a year, and it's so much lighter. And now it's like, shit, I've gotten everything squeezed onto my body, every single band logo, everything I ever wanted. Like, now I'm going to have like this real estate on my arm. Like, I'd never thought my life I'd ever have room in my freaking forearm. It's crazy to have that at 54. Do you know what I mean? Like, no, I have no idea.
I was going to say, that's a hard decision.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. And like, I don't know if I want it to be completely just skin color and just some weird blotch on my arm. That's kind of cool because now people are blacking out all their tattoos, which it's cool for some people. I don't think I'd do that, but Also heard that's crazy painful and it's a lot for your body to digest all the ink and stuff.
Yeah.
But to have like a spot on my arm, it's crazy to have that.
Yeah,
real estate.
I'm working on a full sleeve, and I'm like, okay, what am I gonna get?
At 50, you're working on a full sleeve, which is freaking crazy.
So
it is a second chance.
Yeah,
kind of.
And so I'm gonna be able to do this, but I don't know. And it's like now there's a lot of thought that goes into it. Where before it's just like, oh, I think I'm gonna get this done.
I know.
But now it's like, ooh. I love this artist and I love this artist, and it's it's almost gonna be like drawing straws. Like, okay.
But now you have all this like these options to get new tattoo at 50.
Yeah,
that's a cool thing about it.
It's amazing.
Like starting over and starting fresh.
Yeah, I'm really grateful.
Yeah.
For being able to do that again. Not that it was horrible work or ashamed of it for any reason, but it just didn't represent me well. And so now I'm like, okay, because I really want to show my daughter, like, okay, you got to have confidence in yourself. You got to be like, approach things and make sure you're heard. And so like, that's the way I try to live my life. I'm just kind of faking it because I don't really have that confidence, and I'm still working on it. But, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go and this is what I'm going to get. And I'm not going to let someone else talk me in that, and if I don't like something, I'm going to say it. And really that all comes from, I want to teach her to have confidence and not look back in life and being like, God, I wish I would have said something. I wish I would have spoken up.
That's not just confidence too, because that's happened to me with an artist where like they drew the design and like, I'm like, you sure you're going to put purple on me? I hate purple. And then and I'm like, and they let them do it because they're the artist. And they're looking, I'm like, okay, have to live with that now. But you let them take over because they are the artists. Even if they give them the design, they may add a little flavor to it. Like, fuck. I have many tattoos like that where I just let the guy run the show. Yeah. And I'm not super happy with them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think
it's just being comfortable with the artist, I guess.
Yeah, but if you're not, if you went with someone and they just kind of, because tattooing is a very ego-driven. I was actually talking to Dan Smith.
Shout out to Dan
Captured.
Smith. Yeah,
we were talking about this yesterday. Like, tattooing is such an ego-driven thing, where there's one thing about saying, hey, this will look better from a design perspective, and this will, as a tattoo, we have to do this, like this size, this color with
the spot in your body.
But that's one way to approach it. But then there's others who like, well, I'm the artist, it doesn't matter what you want because I'm doing this. So there's I've seen both.
Same.
And and then we also what we see a lot is artists who are just like, okay, that's what you want, cool, I'll do those little letters on your finger, and it's gonna look great that day, but 6 months from now it's gonna just look like the
you wanted it.
And so, but that's where I think social media has really changed a lot of what, because before they weren't really held accountable, but now if they're doing something they know is gonna look shitty, because before they would do it, oh, that's $100. Cool, I'm going to just do this.
This is your portfolio on the internet.
Yeah, and now they're like, oh, wait, do I want my name attached to that forever? And so that's something where, we are starting to see, things that are more thought out, and they just don't want it. Whereas a few years ago, it was just like, yeah, well, they only charged me $50 for it. And there's a reason they only charged you $50 for it.
Yeah, like that girl that got the Drake on her forehead. I'm sure that's been removed by now, hopefully. But yeah, the girl walked in there and she got the Drake, and it was just that was a crazy moment.
Yeah, and there's being impulsive, and there's being impulsive.
Yeah, but also like responsibility for the tattoo artist, I think, as well. Like to say, you sure about this? Are you okay? Are you? You know what I mean? I don't know.
It goes back to, if someone's like wants to get their face tattooed as their
very
first thing.
No,
like,
I know.
There is a responsibility for the artist to be like, listen, I understand, but let's start with something a little more realistic.
Yeah.
But again, some people just don't. They just want to see that money coming in, and they don't have any morals or scruples.
I also think social media is bad for that, because people do see people with face tats all over the internet all day long, different artists, different people they look up to. and they're just like going for it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you got like $1 billion like Lil Wayne, maybe you should think about it. Do you know what I mean? Like different artists who have like full face tats and they're set for life. It's just different, you know?
I don't know. Did anybody watch the Super Bowl? Like there was that guy. I've never heard him before, but now I want to listen to that guy Jelly Roll.
That's my dude. That's my dude. Mad positive.
Oh my God.
I love him.
Mad positive.
His thing, and I sent this to Amber a bunch of times. He's like, someone doodled on my face.
Yeah, dude.
That was brilliant.
That dude's story is crazy inspiring. Man, he was a rapper first, and we're going to talk to him about getting laser as well because he wants to. But he's my podcast for this year. Like we talked about, that's like my goal this year. I'm talking to him about it, but he's super busy. He's a great person. Look his whole story. He's so positive, inspiring, dude.
That is amazing.
I know Super Bowl about his face tats. I know.
I keep on finding like memes of that online.
You should watch his awards speech too. He says he's just so.
That's wonderful to hear because it's just like you meet a band, you meet a person that you really look up to, and then. Wow, they're horrible.
Oh yeah, I've had a lot of that in my life.
Unfortunately, and that's.
I met a lot of my heroes.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate.
But then you meet ones who are like bigger than any of your heroes could ever be. Like mainstream people I met, they're like the most humble, cool people. And then there's people that are like different levels. They're huge to us in our scene, but not many people know them, and they're like different. It's like really like some people I'm like wish never met. Yeah. That's a different podcast, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, coming from the hardcore scene, the guys in Fall Out Boy, just like such genuine, nice,
mad cool,
kind people, and they do so much for me. And
also hardcore kids too, though, man.
Yeah. Just wonderful people, and and then I'm sure there's other people who are just not as successful.
Oh,
but,
yeah,
but just not good people. So
we'll talk off the pot about that one.
Yeah, but seeing Jelly Roll like that, I laugh.
You got to check out his journey, though. You're gonna love. He's so positive, bro. So he's running now too, and he's trying to do some marathon thing.
Oh,
and he's
wow.
like. Super cool.
I'm gonna check him out. So,
yeah,
but I can't wait for you to have him on.
Oh, me too. But Carmen's got scarification on her arm, which is totally beautiful, which I've never really seen before. Is that hard to take off? That's forever?
That's forever. You can't
no
reverse
lasers
it.
getting that off.
See, she's tough. We all get tattoos that can be removed.
Yeah,
so she's going all the.
Women are tough anyway. Stuff. So, yeah, that's crazy. It's beautiful. What made you get that?
A client came in and he had it, and I was like, "Oh my God, I love that! That is just really so cool." So, at a tattoo show, started asking some artists. They were like, "Oh, you got to go to Brian Decker."
He's the man.
Yeah, in Brooklyn. And so one of my other tattoo artist friends designed it, and then Brian cut it. Yeah.
Didn't tattoo it. Didn't laser it. What is the pain compared to a tattoo and compared to getting lasered with getting scarred?
Oh, it's intense.
So they're cutting you.
They're cutting. It's a scalpel. Yeah, and it's
how many sittings for that?
I did
your whole arm,
for my arm. I did 3 sittings of 4 hours each. Yeah.
And you're bleeding. It's just crazy.
It was nasty after. It was so nasty.
You love it. You love it though.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I get so many people that are like, oh my God, that's...
It's almost like a 3D tattoo. It's interesting to me.
Well, I always call myself an embossed leather bag because, that's kind of what it looks like. For me, I love it.
Yeah.
But healing it, that was awful. It was, how you have if you get a cut, a surgery cut, something like that, it itches deep. And so I would sit around like trying to mask, but I was just itching
the healing
all
must be
the
crazy,
time.
Man.
Yeah.
It's all scabbed out and everything.
Yeah. Oh, it was awful.
It looks beautiful though.
Thank you.
It's making me really want to get X on my face, man. I've already told my son earlier, like just like this little X right there, be so sick. Because it's not a tattoo. I promised my family no face tattoos. That's a scar. It's different. It's like I hit in the face with a bottle or something. Like I could do like 3 X's. I'm definitely thinking about it. They could do that, right?
Oh, sure.
And that's easy to
yeah. No,
I might do that myself with a razor after this.
Well, funny story. Remember the penis man with the sailboat? So he brought his new girlfriend in, and of course they saw the scarification. They got way into it. They ended up going together and getting scarification because of that connection.
Wow. Mm-hmm. I want X so bad on my face right now. I can talk to him. I'm serious. It'd be so sick. It's a scar. It's like nothing. It's just.
What's Moon gonna think?
I mean, there's no face tats. You know what I mean? That's like a rule in this house. I've had many Post-its around this my whole life. There's a couple that Dan shop. Like, this is my last tattoo ever. Like, I'm not getting a tattoo. I've always like tried to quit. I can't. This is what I do. Yeah. Now I'm getting all gold teeth because that's my new addiction. Because I can't get any more tattoos. I'm not gonna tattoo my taint or my privates. Yeah. So I'm getting the gold teeth now. That's my new addiction. But I don't know. Would you ever tattoo your privates?
No.
Yeah.
No.
I thought about getting a moon just to surprise my wife.
Oh, that's kind of sweet.
Like a half moon or something. But we have some friends who have full sleeves, which is really, really crazy. I don't know.
That's wild. Yeah, that's a little extreme for me.
Let's talk about the healing of the lasering too. Like, mine blisters sometimes because it's a lot right there. Some people don't blister.
Most, I'm going to back up. I'm not going to say most people.
Depends on the person.
It depends on the tattoo, depends on the person, depends on their aftercare. If they go and they are outside in the heat or working in the heat or go and work out, their core temperature is higher.
So no sauna for me.
No sauna for you right after.
How about a cold plunge?
Cold plunge, wonderful.
Okay.
Fantastic. If it's your private one, I mean, right after the skin is not broken, right? So there's a barrier, but it's a little irritated, so it could get some bacteria in there if you don't take care of it in your first 24, 48 hours. As long as you don't blister. If you blister, then you have to wait until the blisters are cleared and everything is good. Yeah. But for the most part, you haven't broken the skin. It's really a fairly easy healing process. Yeah. It's sort of like it hurts in the moment. And
it's like a sunburn.
Yeah. And by the time you leave, you'll feel it if you rub up against it, but it's not that bad. Sun exposure.
That's bad.
That's bad. That's where, a lot of hypopigmentation, taking pigment out or too much pigment. Those are hyper and hypopigmentation. Those can happen as a result of sun exposure. Yeah. So I always tell even regular lasers, any laser, for the first 2 weeks, you've got to stay out of the sun. So you've got to plan around when you're going to
That's another thing. You can't work out. You can't do your daily stuff you usually do.
Yeah, for about 24, 48 hours.
Okay, yeah. But running and stuff. I mean, what about, do you guys ever put like the Tegaderm stuff over that? Is there anything you ever put on top of laser or just let it breathe?
Let it breathe.
Okay.
Yeah, so you never want to put something occlusive because, again, we're holding in that heat. And really what we want to do is
really
get
warm
rid
after
of the
when
heat.
You get it done.
Yeah. So that's why we ice you a little while after. We want that heat to be dissipated so that you go home, you lead your normal life, you don't get the blistering, you don't have to worry about any of that stuff.
It's crazy the first time you get lasered and how it looks like it's already been taken off. Oh. It's such a mind fuck. You're like, oh my God, that was it. And it's like almost gone. And then you just start seeing it coming to the surface. But like a lot of my friends have that, like, wow, that was so fast. But
yeah, and it throws people off.
It really does, man.
Like, wow, it's gone. And then it's almost brighter.
Yeah.
For a couple days. And you're like, oh man.
What's really interesting is I have 4 different tattoos. And as I've been getting the treatments, I'm starting to see the other tattoos underneath, which is really crazy. Like, I haven't got that deep to the final one, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like each dusting them off. It's like excavation. Like, like, dusting off and, ooh, look what I found. Oh, wait, I go a little deeper and here's what
I'm like, maybe I should have covered that one. Yeah. But now it's starting to come through. That's really, really, it's cool.
Yeah.
The only thing for me, though, it itches worse than a tattoo. Like healing the laser. Okay. Like, for some reason, I just thought it itched more. I don't know.
That's true. You can get itching. You can get a histamine response, right? Your body is fighting something. Okay. So a lot of times you'll get some itching, but really most people take care of that with a little bit of ice, a little bit of over the counter or antihistamine. That generally helps.
What's like the cooling stuff to put on it?
Aloe vera?
Aloe vera, that's okay?
No, thank you.
Okay.
That has alcohol. So again, we're trying to keep that skin nice and moisturized, as healthy as possible. So aloe vera generally has alcohol, which is going to dry. Okay. So really, we just tell people just put some Vaseline on it.
Vaseline.
Yeah, very simple, little thin layer of Vaseline, and forget that you ever had anything done.
Yeah.
I just use a door jamb and itch up like a bear or something,
No, don't say that. Okay. You can't say that.
But just the process, man. I'm loving the process of it. I'm seeing the results. You know what I mean? Like, it is. You have to be patient about it.
Yeah, and if you want it, like, if you really want it gone, it's it's like anything. It's
commitment too.
It's gonna pay off.
It really is, yeah. And some people are different. Like, I'm learning from this podcast. Like, yeah, it could be fast for some people depending on the color, your skin, just everything.
everything. We never we base our averages, like Mike was saying, we've got over 1 million treatments. So that data predicts, we can tell, generally people remove between 8 and 10 treatments. Might be less, might be more, might be a whole lot more.
Yeah.
But I never try, because they've fooled me so many times where I think, oh, that's just, a black and gray or gray wash. Well, no, it's mixed with white. And so you get a big fat mess there. But we never want to predict. And I go to all kinds of medical conferences and things like that with laser. And that's what the doctors who are doing their type of research, they'll always tell you, don't ever predict. And so I feel more confident in not predicting now and telling people, hey, listen, if I predict a number for you, I'm lying to you. I'm never going to lie to you. I always want you to have every bit of information and accurate information. If I can't give it to you accurately, I don't want to give it to you at all. And generally, people can accept that.
Yeah. You think back then when people were just turning it up really high to get it off quicker? And that's why the people were getting scarred, right? Kind of.
Well, it was technology too, right?
I'm sure,
so without trying to turn it up, there was just that much energy, and again, that long pulse duration. So there was that much energy coming out.
Yeah.
So with the introduction of pico technology, that became much more safe, because not all that. Yes, there's a bunch of energy coming out, but it's your relaxation time is a lot shorter, so it's a lot more safe.
What do you see in the future as far as for laser? Like, you've probably seen it change so much in 20 years, right?
Oh my God. I bought number 12 pico machine in the world.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was really...
Pico's probably changed too.
Oh, pico. And that was Pico Sure. Now we use a Candela Pico Way, which is better. It wasn't on the market then. Again, this, it was Pico Sure. And so all of those learnings, we had to discover it. Nobody knew anything. So I would have the manufacturer calling me into their, I'd go to their headquarters and they'd be, okay, like, what are you finding? Because they didn't know.
Wow.
They tested enough to get it FDA approved.
Yeah.
But efficacy, will it really work? I started with Pico telling my clients what they told me. It'll be gone in 3 to 6 treatments. I sold that.
Wow.
And had to eat my hat and say, hey, listen, for the rest of it, I'll just give it to you free. I wasn't trying to mislead you. I was telling you what my truth was, the only truth I knew.
Yeah.
So, it's been an incredible journey, but I think that's why, Removery does so well. We have a clinical advisory board, like Mike's mentioned a couple of times.
Yeah.
I get to sit in a room. I really geek out. This is so much fun. It's like 4 times a year, and I get to sit in a room with dermatologists, plastic surgeons, just every surgeons. And so we sort of go through what the hypothesis is, and if there's been any medical papers that would support that hypothesis, and if that hypothesis isn't supported, then we do a study. So all of next week, I'm doing a study combining 1550 laser, a different laser with our laser. And does that make it more fast? Does it take care of scarring? But all of those questions, we tested a Resonic. We did a Resonic study, which is another.
What is that?
It's a photoacoustic pulse laser that it was on the market a few years ago saying, hey, we've revolutionized tattoo removal. So we bought one.
Okay.
And we did a study, and it was supposed to... Remember, we were talking about that mindfuck of the frosting?
Yeah.
Okay. So that frosting can be deep too. So that's why just waiting through the frosting going away on the surface doesn't really work, because those vacuoles are still encompassed in that frosting. And if you think about it, that frosting reflects the laser. And so that's why doing multiple passes really, wasn't working from the understanding that we had then. So I tested Resonic versus just multiple passes with no Resonic. It didn't work. Mm-hmm. So we didn't, but it was a good understanding, because now we're doing another study on multiple pass, and will that make that journey a little bit more short? Is it more effective to do it that way? And when in the journey should we do it? Should we do it in the beginning? Should we do it in the end? Should we do it all the way through? And so that's another one of the studies that we're doing. And then, like the guys alluded to, we're doing a time between treatments trial. So all of these trials are happening in order to create an evidence-based practice, right?
Gotcha.
We don't want to just guess like I've been doing for 20 years. Yeah. We don't want to guess anymore. We want the data behind us.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it's probably longer the better to wait in between, right?
Yeah, because again, once the laser lifts off your skin, the laser's part's done.
Yeah.
And your body's doing the rest. And that, I mean, my understanding, I always tell people to picture asteroids. You know, most of the people our age can, you know, the video game.
Yeah,
where,
for sure.
You know, you're shooting, every time you shoot the big rock, it breaks up into smaller and smaller pieces.
Yeah,
and that's the way, if I'm dealing with someone from my generation, they're like,
it's a great analogy, though.
You know, and so as it gets smaller, you know, your body's able to absorb it easier. So the time in between, it gives your body, you're able to work on it more. And so if you come in sooner, you're not just kind of like hitting the same old stuff. You're hitting the bigger parts that need to be treated. That's, you know, my very simplistic.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, instead of like fire, bad, you know, I just don't understand the clinical aspect of it. I just, so that's why I have Carmen here to explain it. And everything's like, over my head. Oh yeah, this is a podcast. You can't see me staring up into space. But
do you think someday there might be like cream or something to take up a tat? It might get so advanced.
I don't think a cream. I think that we might combine technologies. I think femtosecond, so your next faster pulse, is out there, being tested, that kind of thing. Not a whole lot of data as to whether it will actually be released, and sort of if the point of no return is, does it matter that it's a femtosecond versus a picosecond? That's all got to be tested. We don't know that for sure. But yes, they're already testing more lasers. And my ask is just give me more energy out of the laser that I have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, they are out there testing.
You think tattoo artists, is it true they're making ink that's more easily to be removed these days? Do you think that's something that tattoo artists are doing? I don't know, because I heard it's different back then. Like the stuff I have has all kinds of shit. Probably motor oil, who knows? Yeah. Like the shit they used on me back in the 80s, I heard there's crazy stuff in there. But now it's plant-based. There's all different kinds of inks. But I wouldn't be surprised if they're using inks that might be easier. I don't know if that's true or not.
I mean, I don't know. If
you guys never heard of that? I don't know.
Intentionally?
Unless there's a company in cahoots with another tattoo. I'm going to make this. I don't know. Who knows? I won't get any drunk. I'm just saying, like, is that something that could be possible?
Well, if
he knows. I don't know.
Well, there's some inks that are supposed to dissolve.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And what they're finding is that they really aren't.
Okay.
And you know,
that's scary.
Yeah. And at the moment, we're testing with the laser to see if the laser will help. It may not help, but we don't want to do it on clients unless we know that it will help. So again, you know, we test it before we put it out to the general public.
Do you know the different inks that are in people's bodies after all these years of dealing with tattoos? Like, is it what?
You know what? It's
what's
really
in the
hard.
actual inks?
Yeah. So I've studied the inks quite a lot. There are, you know, people who have studied it. One of the doctors on clinical advisory board has so much knowledge in this space.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like he's a chemist, and it's wild. So I know very little compared to him. But the issue is that, do you know what sort of inks were used on yours?
No, it was in the 80s. I don't know.
Nobody does.
But I read something back in the day that would use motor oil in some of the inks.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, I know, you know, what do they use? Toothpaste in prison?
Yeah.
I think
Toothpaste.
They use toothpaste.
Wow.
And, you know, yeah. So, because I've heard
in pen ink,
the stories of, okay, you know, when I was in prison, I had to use this, and like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know, so who knows what went into it.
When you're in the Mayans, you mean, right? When you're in prison?
Yes, exactly. So, Elgin.
For all the listeners, he was on the Mayans. It was really cool to see you on the Mayans. I was like, because I love that show. It was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So out of place because you're the sweetest human. But you looked hard, though. It was cool.
You know what? That was fear. I look really tough when I'm afraid. And so that's like
you look cool with your hair, your gray hair back. It was cool. Yeah. But yeah, the different inks. I'm just wondering throughout the years, you figure out the easiest ones to get out or what they're made of. Or it's crazy.
It would be doable if we had the data again.
Yeah.
You know, but 99.9% of people don't know what's in there. So I don't even know what brand to look at. Or, we had really good results. Well, was it the ink? Was it that I had perfect settings? Was it their body? Do they
Totally.
have, so who knows?
Everyone's different.
Yeah.
So, can I?
When they say plant-based ink now, that scares me. Like, do I have like fucking animals in my ink from back in the day?
Also,
Yeah,
I was
true.
going to
Do you know
ask.
what I mean?
I wanted to ask you for a second, by being vegan.
Yeah.
Does that impact who you get tattooed by?
I mean, Dan's the main dude who does all. He's all
Okay.
vegan, everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
But
For sure.
that's not something I ever thought about until,
I know.
I started working with Removery, and I was like, oh, people who advertise like all vegan inks or all vegan tattooing, and I was like, well, what goes into?
I know.
I have no idea. So yeah,
That's a great question. Yeah, I like to figure that out. What was back
I
in?
guess you look at, you'd always be, they find ways to put animals into everything.
I know.
Like the soap in my hotel. I don't know if you guys noticed the hand soap. It says milk. It has milk derivatives in the hand
So
soap.
crazy,
way.
dude.
So I was like, every time I need to use soap, I have to go into the shower and put the shower gel. Because, it's like, it has, I looked at it, I was like, would put my glasses on to look, and I was like, milk derivatives.
It's
hand soap.
It's crazy. Like, well, I don't eat animals. I've never tried drinking or drugs, but I'd never questioned what was in my ink to put on my body.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, maybe I'm not straight edge. Maybe I'm not vegan. Maybe like all this shit on me is like animals and alcohol. I don't know. It's
We're
crazy.
gonna have to remove all of those.
I just love expressing myself, and this is what I do. This is how I express myself. This is my thing. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, like the whole vegan thing, vegan ink. I was like, I don't know.
I know. It seems something pretty new too. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's great though that people are paying attention, and kind of it's something that's important to them to,
Of course.
ensure that, because it's one of those things like someone might have an allergy, or that restaurants are paying attention, like gluten free or whatever.
Yeah.
That there are people who are saying, hey, I offer this for clients that
No, it's
it
nice.
impacts.
Yeah.
They want that, and so I should do more research into what goes in that makes something not vegan.
I know.
It's just not something I ever thought about.
And Carmen, you showed me your tattoo before the podcast because my son just got tattooed yesterday. Like, for the listeners, how soon can you get something removed? And you got yours within 24 hours on your own body, right? You did it?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did. As a company in California here will be one of our testing areas, but we're just introducing, usually we have somebody wait 14 days,
Okay.
right? Because then we know it's safe, it's healed, good enough to laser it. I'm going to test me before I ever test.
Love that.
Before I ever test anybody else. If I had a big gnarly something happen to my ankle, then I'd know, oh yeah, no, we're not going
it's awesome
there.
you done that.
But we will start to very soon. Actually, I think I have that training with the nurses, the doctors, the nurse practitioner part of our business. I'm training them first so that they can identify if we have any issues. They can follow up. They have a little bit more medical background as far as any infection due to the tattoo. They're going to be able to identify it more. And my deal is, how many times do we see infection coming in, and what's our exposure, right? So, but I'm fairly confident that very soon we'll be treating tattoos. If you get something the night before and you really hate it and you're
all
freaking
drunk, you
out,
made a mistake.
come on in.
So
Wow.
are you asking because Max sold out already?
No.
It hasn't even been 24 hours. Like, I don't know. I just didn't know if that's why you were asking.
But it is crazy. People going out to drinking, going out to tattoo shops late at night, getting some crazy, waking up the next morning, like, oh my God. So that's really good to know for listeners.
Yeah,
because most of the people listening to this, they get drunk and they get, I'm just kidding. But
you know, listen.
But you know what I mean? That's crazy.
Yeah. Again,
It's
when
barely
I was
healed, yeah.
when I was living in my studio, I would answer the phone at all times. Like,
Okay.
I wanted business. I wanted to succeed. So the calls late at night were all of that. Oh my God, people crying. Oh my God, I got this. I don't want it. Can I come in
like a
tomorrow?
therapist.
A lot.
yes.
Yeah, a
Oh.
lot.
And also you're hearing these stories while they're getting lasered and stuff, like why they got it, why they're taking it off. And
I love the stories so much. It's
Yeah.
so addicting.
what do you think was your love and your passion so much for this journey for you? Like what do you think
That I can help.
kept you here this long, and all that?
Yeah, that I can help, that I can be part of somebody I don't even know. All of a sudden, I'm a big part of their life and helping them to change. The fact that I can discover new and interesting people, discover new industries.
Yeah.
And the people that I work with, that's what drives me.
Yeah.
And also being a pioneer, like how many times do you get to start an industry, right?
Yeah.
So this is my shot. And I'm just so excited that I happened upon this. It was a mistake. Like I was just bored doing what I was doing, man. I was just paying attention to what people were saying. But I just feel like it's been such a gift that I was given that I could be a pioneer in an industry and
awesome.
Have all of these people follow along has been just amazing.
Yeah, and the friendships, relationships, and it's changing people's lives, and
and now you're stuck with us.
And probably being with a client when it's the final last piece and it's the last laser they're ever going to get, and whether you're going to see them again after this, or maybe you find out if they got it covered up or not, whatever. Like just a new tattoo there.
Yeah, sometimes it's bittersweet. It's like, they'll be like, "Are you sure it's gone?" Yeah, I'm really sure. You can come back and visit anytime you want. But yeah, it's sort of this bittersweet thing. And of course, when people come in just to fade, we always, I always want to know, what did you get? Show me what you've got. Let me see.
Yeah.
Because it completes that journey for me too.
Mm-hmm.
And it also goes to, when I was saying there's so many people are heavily tattooed, like we want to see what the next piece of art you got.
Yeah.
Oh, that is amazing, compared to, whatever you had before the name or whatever. Like, it's amazing what you got done. And for so many of us who just love tattooing and just the art of it, and we're able to be part of them really getting something amazing. And it's really a neat thing to see.
Yeah. And then why Austin? How did it end up in Austin, starting in Austin?
That wasn't my decision.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, when we joined, the three of us joined, it was my business in the Northeast.
Yep.
There was Invisible Ink in the Midwest, and then Eraser Clinic in Texas.
Okay.
And everybody decided, because we had Australian investors, it was easier for them to get to Austin,
okay,
than say the Northeast. So it ended up there. And when they located there at first, I would just try to be there as much as I could. And then I was like, if I'm doing something, it has to be 100%. So of course I moved there.
Yeah.
And I was, I've been there ever since. And Austin's fantastic. It's great. I'm really appreciative of the move.
Yeah. Where were you living before that? You in Boston?
Boston.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, the one you started was picked up by Removery, right? Removery came and kind of got all the laser
So
places.
We had Boston, New York, Brooklyn, Philadelphia, Buffalo, because Dustin wanted to start a shop. I was like, that was another story where it was one of the artists that we had met through the mobile.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, I've got this dude Dustin. Will you talk to him? He wants to start a shop." And I was like, yeah, I'll talk to him. And he just happened to be up in Boston for a show. So he came over. And by the time he left, I was like, yeah, we're going to start one in Buffalo. You're going to run that. I'm going to teach you how to run the laser. And it's
That's amazing, man.
Yeah. And same thing with Mike.
Facebook message.
Yeah, a Facebook message over here.
So cool, though.
Yeah.
It changed my life,
Yeah.
I've been working meaningless jobs, things I didn't care about. And
I mean, a hot topic for a minute.
I was there for like 6 years. I was at Starbucks for like 10 years. Tower, worked at Jinx Proof for a long time.
You know what's crazy about those three places, Tower, those three? You're a person I would never think in a million years would even work at those places. It's just so weird. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's just like, for you, it's just like, this makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Out of everything I've known the place you worked at, because you're not that dude. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, but you were surviving, you were working, you were doing your thing, and like.
Well, I mean, my main thing was I had to have health insurance because of my seizures. And that's why I every job I did I wanted to be the best at. Like, I wanted to put everything I had into it, but it was a paycheck.
Yes.
This, I want to put 200% in because I love what we do. And it's like,
I'm stoked for you.
First time in my life I'm making a livable wage. Like, fucking doing great, which be able to finally at 50, I'm like, wow, I am where, so many people, like so many people that we grew up around, like got amazing jobs. And have families and like, the house and we're doing bands, we're doing meaningless jobs. But now I'm like, wow, I'm doing something that I'm so passionate about. And say every morning, you know, because it's like when my mom passed, I'm trying to like manifest, like, instead of just being sad all the time, I'm trying to like take, like, she made all this happen for me. So I'm like thankful for who I work with and the job I do. And then, you know, at the end of the day, I'm like looking out, like, I can't believe we bought a house, and from 5 years ago where I was, and just like, and again, Carmen is a big part of that, and Dustin, and, you know, and just I can't believe how lucky I am. Yeah. You know, and just, but yeah, it just, I've worked some good places, like good employment, but nothing I've ever been like loved, like really loved, and been like, this is so much more than a paycheck. Yeah. It's life changing. We are changing people's lives. Like, we're making people be their best selves. And part of that journey, whatever role I play, I'm part of that.
No, it's awesome. And you're the vice president of Removery?
Vice president of clinical operations. Okay. So they leave me out of the money.
Okay. That's amazing, man. Oh, let me check my notes, see what's covered. I cover everything on here, Dustin? You good on here? Covered all shit? Well, I just want to make sure I can sauna plunge after I get laser. That's my main concern, and working out. And I have a question. How soon after my tattoo is completely, how long do I wait to get it tattooed on that spot? Like, once I get my final treatment, how long does a person wait to actually get it tattooed? A long time, or?
That's a big controversy. And again, I can't give you that because I haven't done the clinical study on it. Okay. I will tell you that generally, if somebody is to ask me right now, I would say wait at least 12 weeks. I'd wait 6 months, because
I'll wait longest. Yeah, I do that too.
It's still fading.
Yeah, exactly. So if they go in and they put something on and they're depending on that depth in a certain spot, and then all of a sudden goes away, that's not going to look the same when the new tattoo's there. So
interesting.
Again, be patient. Give it some time.
Yeah.
And do, 100% have what you want.
Yeah. Because it'd be hard. Is it hard for the ink to stay over something that was lasered off? Like when you get a tattoo over top of it?
I'm so glad you asked that. That's so cool, because I didn't know until we had a long enough relationship with some of our artist friends, and they would tell me, hey, over the stuff that you used nano with back in the day, that's more difficult for us to tattoo over.
Wow.
The new Pico is the skin is much more healthy, and this is probably going too far, but when you do laser, just in essence, it's creating a lot of little tiny micro scarring. Nothing you're ever going to see.
Yeah.
But if you have enough of it, it will make that skin dexterity get a little tighter.
Tougher, tighter. Yeah.
So if you think about it, if you want that ink to absorb into the skin, you want a nice, healthy skin that can absorb and hold it.
Yeah.
So, now getting tattooed over lasered skin, no, I don't think it's, or from what I've understood from the artist, no, it's
I wonder if it hurts
fine.
more too.
No, definitely not with getting tattooed.
Over like a laser.
Yeah. There are some sort of removals that hurts like crazy too. We won't go into that whole thing.
Hurts like what?
Well, there's a brand out there that does a type of removal, and it leaves a ton of scar tissue.
Okay.
And that will hurt a lot if you try to cover it, and it hurts them a lot more when I try to laser it.
There's a friend of mine I was taken to Removery, and she was getting work somewhere else. It was it was almost like a poke. It was something interesting.
We're on the same page. Yes.
Okay, so it was that, and she was coming to remove it. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, oh, it goes away faster. But then she started coming removing. She's getting it done now with you guys with Pico. But yeah, it was some weird, like super fast kind of pokey thing. It looked bad. It looked rough on her.
Well, it creates scar tissue.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yeah, she's scarred on her wrist right now.
And so what they have is tattoos with little tiny dots everywhere.
That's exactly what it is.
And when we go to laser them, those poor people, it's like a palm tattoo removal. It's so hurtful. I always feel sorry for them. I always give them a heads up. Hey, listen, I'm really sorry. This is going to hurt you a lot, but I'll get you to where you're going.
So they're being told it'll come off quicker. But in the end, they're getting scarred.
Yeah, it is gone. The ink's gone. They're not lying in that respect. But what are you left with? A bunch of scar tissue.
And the places that do tattoo removal and hair removal and all that stuff, are they using Picos too?
Some of them. Yeah.
Are they up to date?
You
Usually, supposedly.
know what? The issue is that when you're doing a lot of different things, you're not the master of any of those things.
You're not.
And in this industry, in this particular avenue, it's not easy to be really good at this.
Okay.
You have to have a lot of treatments under your belt. You have to have people whispering in your ear, "Oh, let's try this instead. Let's try that instead." And with our clinics, they have that support all the time. There's a whole team that is answering the questions. Hey, I have this client.
It's all just tattooing, nothing else.
It's nothing else.
Yeah.
And so when you're really focused, of course, you're going to be better.
Yeah. I suggest to my listeners to go to like Removery, go to a place if you want to get a tattoo removed. Don't go to the places where, because I've had experiences, the other places where they're getting hair, all this other stuff. Just focus on the tattoos, man. It's just
and they can do it, and they not taking away from the job that they do, but there's so many different aspects. Like, you know, if someone's a musician, like getting a guitar tone, you know, there's so many different ways to look at it and adjusting the settings, and you know, depending on skin tone, ink color.
All that.
Depth of the ink, you know, the application. There's so many ways to look at something. And yeah, when I read the notes, like when I see all the numbers and at this hurts, this depth and whatever, just like way above my head. But there's, again, it goes into, there's so much behind it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's like the secret to our success.
Totally. And you just got to trust the process and have patience.
Yeah. Trust the process.
Because I'm the most impatient person, but with the lasering, I'm really appreciating the process and seeing it and seeing the change in it, you know, and I love showing it to people how's it going, because I've been posting about it and people want to see how it's going, you know what I mean? And then my friends who are skeptical about it, they're going to be lasering soon, like next couple months, who have old school treatments or they're kind of scarred. They're ready for it, you know what I mean? Because I'm showing them how mine's doing. So it's cool.
Yeah.
And the person that recommended me to go to the spot that me and Rappaport went to that wasn't just lasers has now hit me up to come to Removery, which is a big deal. So that's awesome. You know what I mean?
That's fantastic. Yeah.
And I'm just like to have it on my podcast and talk about it because I'm fully tattooed. People know that. I've gotten tattoos covered and now I'm getting them lasered, and, you know, it's part of my journey. It's part of my expression. It's part of my, I don't know, my childhood and everything. As an adult, now I want to make room to get tattooed at 54
And I love, you know, how we're involved together.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Like, you know, met you when I was 13.
It's crazy,
dude. Brian was 11. He just turned 48 yesterday.
I know, it's crazy, dude.
Happy birthday, Brian.
Happy birthday, Brian. And yeah, no, it's amazing. I'm just, I think it's perfect for this podcast because almost every artist or person I have on this podcast want to get tattooed or have tattoos. We talk about it. You know, they're scared to get it or they want to get lasered. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys being here and breaking this down for people in the best you can in the words they understand to know what it means in the process. You know what I mean? Like, I did do a post about people submitting questions, but I didn't get a chance to check my emails, but I never done that before. But I feel like we covered a lot of shit on here unless I missed anything. You guys think I missed anything? You guys? No?
Aftercare, you
process,
got
aftercare,
prosthetics,
bloodstream, how many sessions, different colors that are harder. Yeah. I think for the listeners, like, don't be scared. Like, this is it. Like, just if you want to get something removed, just do it. It's like you have an opportunity to do it. You're going to have to sacrifice a couple of days, like not doing your normal workouts or plunging or soldering and staying out of the sun. But like, it's really worth it if you want to. For me, it's like looking at something the rest of my life that I couldn't stand. Like, I had this big black blob on my arm, and anytime I saw a photo of me singing with a microphone, I wouldn't even repost the picture because I was so disgusted by this black blob on my arm. You know, like, it really fucked me up mentally. And now it's like, so much lighter, and it's like, I'm going to have an opportunity to have something there. If you see how light it is, I'm showing.
Oh, my God.
You know, compared to that, it's just so much lighter. That's how dark it was.
And you know what the thing is? I bet no one else noticed that.
Yeah, I just did. It just fucked me up mentally because it was so gross. And so you don't have to live with something you don't like in your body. That's the point of this conversation. And Removery, it's like you have a chance to like start over.
And
you know,
that's where the connection with people is. Like, we don't have to feel why they're so uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
But you know, we all live it in one way or another, one way or the other. And you know, with that, like, seriously doubt anyone's looking at a picture of you.
I know.
They're looking at the crowd and they're looking
I know.
at the, but you know, and same thing with me. Like I have one
that's
slightly off, and I got it when I was 15. It's been driving me crazy since I was 15.
Wow.
And I finally am working on getting it done. And now
that's amazing.
And I wore like socks that almost went up to my knees for so long because I was so ashamed of it.
That's crazy.
I didn't step on a beach. Like
what?
Didn't go to the pool for.
What is the tag? Can you say what it is?
It's just like a tribal design thing.
Tribal's coming back now, though. But yeah.
Well, but he was on like a pen pal from Europe sent it, and it was like a stamp he put on one of the letters. I was like, oh, cool. And so I got it when I was 15, and it's just slightly like
drives you crazy.
Yeah, but so I didn't go to the beach. So
that's
after Dustin treated it the first time, and after that it was like, I don't know, someone said it earlier, like it was something like light. Like I just felt lighter.
Yeah.
So now that I know I'm on that journey,
same.
Now I don't wear socks up to my knees anymore.
Yeah.
Like I'm even though it's still visible, I'm like I don't think about it anymore. I'm like, okay, well I'm in the process of getting it lightened so I can get it covered up. But yeah, just not going in a
big
pool,
relief.
not going on to the beach. Like that's the big thing. Like after like 20 years.
That's nuts for a tattoo.
I went on a beach.
And nobody's even going to see that tattoo. I know.
And it's just, but it's something, you carry.
Insecure about it
so heavy.
I know.
And that's where, when people really, they call and they're kind of embarrassed and, and that's where you act kind of almost like a social worker.
Totally.
You listen and you can't necessarily understand why something, may not be a bad tattoo, but there's something mental.
Yeah, man.
That
I agree.
Someone just has to have it off them. And, there's, it's one of the things where at first people are like, oh, do you see anything crazy? And, oh, what kind of, and after a while, you just kind of, it all blends in together.
Yeah.
You don't judge people. It's like going into a doctor's office. You see it and you look at it and it's like on a compassionate level of like,
totally.
Hey, we're gonna it doesn't matter what it is, we're gonna help you reach where you want to be. There's like the one on my leg, like the first time I went to a beach, I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I've missed that feeling of the sand.
That's so crazy. Yeah.
For like 20 plus years.
This goddamn tribal tattoo.
And so if I go to a beach, I'd walk with my shoes on and I look such a weirdo. I mean, even weirder than I normally look. And it's like, but yeah, it's such a wonderful experience knowing, okay, I'm like, I began that journey and okay, I'm gonna get there.
Yeah, I watched this doc about this guy who got out of prison. He had all these crazy like Nazi tattoos, and he got his whole face removed, his eyelids. That was a gnarly documentary, but it was beautiful to see that.
Yeah,
had a second chance into the world,
Yeah, I think they made a movie about it.
They did.
Inked, is it?
Yep.
Or something like that.
Yep.
And but that goes back to these people. They had hateful past, but it's like, do you want to judge someone for wanting to better themselves and get move past that, or do you want to embrace them and lead them on a journey? Like, hey, you had it, like we were talking about someone earlier who passed and kind of hateful upbringing.
Yeah.
Toward the end of their life, they kind of found peace and hey, are we going to judge them and keep them from that peace, or are we gonna, kind of help guide them and embrace them as they're trying to change and better themselves, no matter how late in life it is, as long as they found that.
Yeah, I've seen some docs about people who were forced to get certain tattoos in jail to be part of certain gangs, and they didn't want to do it. They weren't even like that. They had to do it to be in there and survive.
Yep.
So they're getting those taken out as soon as they get out.
It's like, and that's where we don't judge.
No.
We see so many things, and we may not relate or understand that attachment to or why they need to get rid of it. But all right, we're gonna
help them out.
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous about my tat because this there was a white rose underneath this that got infected. And so it was really infected, it scarred me up. So that's I'm a little nervous about getting lasered again because it did blister last time. But I know I have to continue to do this. But would that have any effect on it if something was scarred underneath it, the tattoo? It was a reaction to the white ink, actually.
Yeah. White ink is a tough one. It's
and
a
that's
tough
what
one
scares
for
me
us
about
to
getting
work with,
deeper
too.
on this because
Yeah,
I think it should be fine.
Yeah, I think you have some levels to go that we're still safe. Usually the issue can be with, if it really gets infected, some of the scars will encapsulate that ink. And so given that you're going to cover it anyway, that's not too much of a consideration. But we just need to watch the endpoints and make sure, now that we know that there's white below there, we have to be cognizant of that. And when we start to react with that white, then we have to, make adjustments. Yeah.
And blistering's not bad. It happens to everybody. Okay. Yeah.
Blistering is a normal after effect of tattoo removal. So, it's not something that's needed. So if you don't get blistering, you're okay. We're still removing. Everything's good. And if you do blister, it's okay. We'll give you aftercare instructions and, we'll take care of it and we'll be there to help you through it.
And for me, healing is different every time. Sometimes it looks angry. Sometimes it gets blistered.
Yeah, mine looked angry last time. Maybe,
Yeah, sometimes it's just swollen. So just because we're always mixing it up, kind of keep the tattoo guessing. Okay, how are we going to approach it this time? What settings are we going to use? And so depending on the settings will depend on how it looks afterwards. But, I think last time it just was swollen and red a little bit. And
mine?
No, mine.
Oh yeah, mine too. Mine was, my whole arm was like swollen, like 3D.
Yeah, it was just, but
it was warm.
And then you're just kind of like, okay. But now, I think the first or second treatment can usually freak people out a little bit.
For sure.
It's an unknown. And so they kind of like, oh wow, is this supposed to happen? And, they're ultra sensitive to what's happening.
It's scary getting lasered on your skin. It's crazy, man.
Yeah,
it's
like this is not supposed to happen. But but that's where all the testing and all the trials go in. And Carmen testing, treating herself.
She's the pro, man. You're fucking pro.
And it's just like everyone's going to be different. Every treatment's going to be different. Healing's going to be different, and
it's good to end the podcast too. It's true. Everybody's different, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we're all here and we're all fucking getting our shit laced off. We're all getting tattooed. Yeah. Well, Carmen, thank you for coming out here too. I really appreciate it, meeting you.
Yeah, of course.
I'm stoked to hang out in Austin sometime.
Yeah.
And Mike coming out here. I love Austin. I was just there recently with him. Austin was nice out there.
It's so nice.
It's really
out there.
chill. Like getting Uber, just getting around the airport. Everything was so chill and peaceful.
So easy, isn't it?
Yeah, everybody moved there during the pandemic. I was like, now I kind of get it.
Right.
It's like just walking everything and the restaurants and the people.
Food scene is amazing,
But now it's expensive. And now it's kind of like.
That's the bummer part.
Everybody went there from LA, it seems, and then it just went up.
Yeah. Property taxes are crazy.
Buying something like before the pandemic, probably perfect.
I know it. I missed that boat.
You did?
I did, man.
You think you'll be in Austin forever?
No.
Okay.
No. I can't imagine where I'm going to be forever.
Yeah.
Like, again, I'm just a curious person.
It seems like you are. It seems like you're not. Yeah.
I need to experience. I need to explore. I need to,
What about more tattoos for you?
Yeah,
in this
for sure.
Part of life, yeah.
For sure.
Your arm.
They definitely hurt when you get older.
They do. Yeah. I have this arm tattooed, so I have my legs left.
You do all your legs?
No, I haven't yet.
Are you going to do them?
No, I've got little ones here and there, but yeah, I'd like to have a leg sleeve too.
You have your butt, Mike?
No.
I do. That shit sucks.
I got close to it, and then I was like, no way.
I got my whole ass worse. Kat Von D did it when she's really light hand, so that was nice. She did the portrait of Prince and Robert Smith on my butt, but then Lindsay Carmichael did the spider webs, and that was gnarly, dude.
Oh, wow.
Like you live, all this shit swells up here. It's like, tattoos suck, man. It's the worst.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't sit and just getting my head done recently. Just like,
head sucks.
It was horrible, and palms and God.
How can people reach out to you guys through Removery? Is like the website, obviously, or the Instagram, or
all of those.
Do
places.
People DM you with questions all the time and? People,
all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. And we like to be available.
Yeah.
Like you're never bothering us.
Okay.
Always reach out.
I'm sure there's so many questions people ask.
Oh, so many. And really that's a lot of my job is like I'm not only helping technicians to know, what should we do next, or my team, but also have the back end, the client interface where I have a blister. Oh my God, what do I do? Like I'm on the phone all the time. Just do this. You're going to be fine.
That would be me if I didn't know you guys.
Yeah.
I have Alex all the time. Oh my God, I'm such a hypochondriac.
Yeah. But we would rather you ask the question. We want you to feel safe.
And that's important to have that kind of customer care and shit.
Yeah. It goes back to like wanting to normalize it. And so people, because it is still something that's so new. So it's not like you can, it's kind of like when our parents were parents for the first time, you couldn't go online and like, why is my baby crying? You know, it was like, okay, got to drive to the library and look up a book, you know, like whatever, it's scary.
Right.
You know, so it's like, you know, you go online, you're gonna read the horror stories
totally,
but it's finding the correct information. And now that more people are getting it done, you're gonna be able to say, oh yeah, well I blistered and it was red and itchy or whatever. That's totally normal. That happened to me a couple times, you know.
Same.
It's like, so it's, you know, yeah, it's gonna be, everyone will be able to like share their experiences, and it'll you know, it's gonna be less scary.
So people, who runs social media? You run it?
I do not.
Okay.
No, they keep me away from that too. Yeah. Because I swear and stuff.
Yes.
So I love it. I love it.
You know, that's the best thing about Carmen. Like, you know, you gotta, like, you know, you don't want her on a like a professional. You know, the least.
She's a professional though.
But the least professional I know. You know,
wow,
like, it's amazing. You know, just doesn't care. Just like, take me.
She knows her shit though.
Knows her shit, but I think that kind of takes people by surprise, because she's just like, I am me, and you're not gonna get anybody else. She's
punk rock, dude. Whether she likes it or not.
No, I would love to have been. I just missed the boat, man.
But your attitude and your ethics and your DIY, everything, your hustle, I
mean, and I think
we crown you punk rock princess today.
Yay!
I think she reminds me of Moon a lot.
Yeah.
You know, just kind of like
badass.
I don't give a fuck, and you know, and you know, just like tough, doesn't.
But just gets it done too.
Yeah, and doesn't need anyone for anything, because she's gonna fucking take care of it on her own.
Yeah.
You know, and don't disappoint her.
Don't let her down.
Yeah. Worst thing ever.
Well, fuck, man. Thank you guys for being here. Dusty, you want to say anything? You're good. Okay. We covered everything, right? I think we did pretty good in here.
I think we did. And if there are questions and you want to...
Yeah, is there like an email or something people can reach out to? Or no? Is there a Removery email? Just go to the website. Removery.com.
Yeah, just Removery.com. Or if they want to ask me directly, I don't mind. cbrodie@Removery.com. I don't mind. Okay. Ask me the questions. If you get them on your podcast, you want me to answer them for you.
Yeah.
I'll send you the verbiage.
That's sick.
Yeah,
And how long has Laser Remover been around?
It was around before I started. So Rox Anderson developed it probably about 25 years ago.
That's not long at all. That's crazy.
It's not, and he's still around.
Okay.
And he's that's my crush.
Okay.
I got to be honest. Okay. You know, and
that's incredible.
Yeah. But he's still around. He's amazing.
You friends with him?
No, I've never gotten to meet him yet.
He's a big listener to the pie. He's going to hear it. I'm just kidding. We're going to hear that. There he is. Surprise co-host. So that's your crush?
That's my crush.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been 25 years. That's not long, man.
Yeah, around 25 years. Like,
you've been a big part of this years. Wow.
Yeah. But by accident, people would remove tattoos, but it wasn't pretty, and it wasn't.
Oh, they used before that in laser.
Well, because they're removing hair, right? So
you think people really cut their tattoos out back in the day, or just maybe
they still cut them out? I have plastic surgeons that will excise your tattoo if you really need to get it gone right away.
Wow.
Yeah, it's doable.
Yeah,
that's gnarly.
It's just, you know, and that's something, you know, for people who are like, you have to have it
right away,
and just insistent that we used to.
Maybe first day out of prison, I have to get rid of this tattoo right now.
Yeah,
this ain't me.
Doctor's name?
Dr. Bastidas is he sits on our clinical advisory board, but
we used to refer people to him all the time. I had his name on my desk, his phone number, and you know, because people who'd be like, I don't, you know, laser takes a long time, and we keep talking about patients. I don't have that time. Need it done now. We would give it doctor's name, and he would.
Okay, that's good to know.
So yeah, for
straight
sure.
to the doctor, cut it right off.
Yeah, they'll. It has to be fairly small. You have to think about it. You have to have enough skin to pull it back together without.
It's still crazy though. So, man, they cut it right off.
Yeah, it's wild.
Real quick, speaking about crushes, do you know if Lars listens to this?
Lars from Rancid?
Yeah.
He might,
That's Dustin's crush.
Okay.
So anyway, just throwing that. Look
Dustin's
how ready
crush?
he is. Look how ready he is.
I'll put the word in for you, Dustin. I won't tell your wife. All right, well, thank you guys for being there. Appreciate you guys so much.
I love you.
Love you too, man.
A long time. So
I know. It's nice to have you here.
Appreciative for your friendship, and we've shared a lot over the years.
For sure. And nice meeting you.
Oh, so
incredible
nice to
meeting
meet
you. This is awesome.
Yeah,
really,
so nice
I learned
to
a
meet
lot today, and this is going to be helpful to the listeners too. That know the shit I'm dealing with when I'm posting about Removery and getting my treatments and stuff. Yeah.
For
so
sure.
yeah, any questions? Hit them up. You can DM me too, and I can put you guys in touch. And check out follow Removery on Instagram. What else? Are you on your Instagram personally?
Yeah.
So can people bother you there? What's your Instagram? Let's tell the world.
Oh my God.
Is it private, personal life?
No, I just can't remember it.
No, that's okay.
Yeah. Again, I'm kind of old, right?
No,
So
chill. You do not look your age, girl. You do not.
I can send it to you though. People can be my friends. I'll answer questions.
And he's no more Instagram right now.
Not at the moment.
I respect that.
I went, yeah.
If I didn't have a podcast or a band to promote, I wouldn't be on that shit, dude.
Yeah.
It's draining. It's draining.
Yeah. But
I respect you for not being on there. I tried tagging you in something the other day. I was like, holy shit, he's not there.
Yeah.
But you're right here. It's all that matters. Is your name on there?
Yeah, I think so. But I don't know if it's VanderHeiden or Brodie, to be honest with you.
Different last name. Okay, good. And shout out to your kids. Shout out to all the listeners. Awesome. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Peace. Bye. I always ask my guests if they have any regrets. I personally don't have any regrets. Even when it comes to my tattoos, I have the silliest tattoos. Even my ET on my leg, it's still a childhood memory for me, and I love it. I've had tattoos on top of tattoos strictly because I wanted more tattoos. I started getting tattoos when I was 18. I'm 52 now, and I can't stop. I've had laser treatment before on something on my arm. It's 4 tattoos on top of each other. And that experience at that place was pretty fast. It was pretty cold. It was in and out, swiped the credit card. Don't really tell me much, didn't give me much details of anything was going to happen. So I never went back. So as of most recently, I'm so lucky enough to have had 2 sessions at Removery Tattoo Removal. My tattoo on my arm that looks like a big black blob is now super light. I've had 2 sessions. I have a long road ahead of me. None of this stuff happens overnight. You cannot take a tattoo up in one sitting. You have to be patient. And it's painful. They ice you up. It's super fast. To me, it felt like a bunch of rubber bands. But what's more painful than that is looking at something on your body that you think you're stuck with for the rest of your life. That sucks. But now for me, I'm really happy I started this journey. I'm slowly going to get this tattoo removed. I never thought in a million years I have any kind of real estate on my arm. I don't even know what I want, but it's exciting. I'm so honored to announce that One Life, One Chance podcast is now with Removery. I have a code. Use TobyH20 and get $100 off your first session. Call 866-934-4570 or go to Removery.com. One of the most experienced tattoo removal companies in the world. Over 600,000 removal treatments done. 100 locations. US, Canada, and Australia. State-of-the-art Pico-Way laser technology. Cryo technology to reduce any discomfort. This is so exciting for me because all I do in these podcasts is talk about tattoos. From day one, if you've been listening to this podcast, we talk about tattoos, talk about getting removed, talk about getting covered up. So this is such a perfect fit for me. Once again, go to Removery.com or call 866-934-4570. Use my code TobyH20 and get $100 off. These guys are located everywhere. Try it out.